Jack Caffrey and two other Hamiltonians finished 1, 2, 3, and it was quite the scandal in the papers for Boston at that time. Then, of course, the great Johnny Miles won in 1926, moved here from Cape Breton, won again in 1929, and lived his life out to the age of 100 here. But anyway, hundreds of Hamiltonians have run Boston, including myself on 2 occasions. Those experiences led my family to love the city, its people, and its beauty. Boston is a special place and not deserving of this ignominious act of violence. And I received a message back from the mayor's office. In true Boston fashion, we are receiving many offers of help and assistance. Governor and I spoke with our city's leading philanthropists and foundations and have set up an official fund for those needing help. And I'll include that. I'll have this letter posted. But we are Boston, we are one community, and we will not let terror win, signed the office of Thomas M. Menino, the mayor of the city of Boston. Could I ask council for a brief moment of silence in the memory of Arthur Weiss and the victims of the terror bombing in Boston. Thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there are 5 added items of correspondence today. Noted as 5.9 is correspondence from Sharon McKenzie from I2I Intergenerational Society requesting letter of support for Intergenerational Day on June 1st. We received. The balance of items are all respecting the light rail transit. 5.10 from Ryan McGrill, 5.11 from Nicholas Cavallon, 5.12 from Gregory Gallant, 5.13 from Dr. Tom Doyle. One added motion from Councilor McCarthy respecting the reaffirmation of council's position respecting the Levi LRT on King Street. And one added confidential, noted as 10.2 of the selection committee report from the April 23rd meeting. Please note there was a correction to page 4 of your agenda pages under item 10.1. The closed session minutes are correct. However, the notation on the face pages refers to the matter subject to identifiable individuals and should have read subject to litigation, potential litigation.
Okay, motion to approve the agenda is presented. Johnson, Pearson, all in favor?
Carried.
Thank you. Members of council, any declarations of interest? Hearing none. Members of council, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the April 10th, 2013 minutes of City Council. Ferguson, Pearson, all in favor?
Carried.
Carried. Now on the communications, 5.1, 5.13 inclusive. Councilor Wade?
153 wants to speak to, but someone just 5.1, 5.2.
5.1, resolution respecting the Enbridge line. Someone like to move the recommendation? Councilor McCaddy, Councilor Ferguson, all in favor?
Carried.
Carried. The Metrolinx big move, regional transportation plan. Recommendation is to be received. Councilor Farr, Councilor McCaddy, all in favor?
Carried.
Carried. Resolution for the city of Brantford. Councilor Wade.
Thank you. Well, in fact, I can like to endorse this particular resolution this evening. We've had many discussions around this table. There's 2 alternatives. We can send it to AA and have our staff report on the merits of pursuing with the other cities some legal, I guess the city of Kingston, legal staff and other interests in developing legal position around heads and beds and pavement. Of course, this is all about the fact that we have many institutions in the city of Hamilton, and certainly institutions across Ontario, Mr. Mayor, and that just like the PILTs, they have not increased the assessments of those taxes since 1987. The payment was $75 then, and it's $75 today. We know that costs have risen. We know that impacts on services have risen, yet the dollar has not in regards to the heads and beds. So in this resolution, they identify the challenge, and they indicate that they support, they're working with Kingston and their legal staff to look at a legal position around heads and beds. And I think it's certainly something that we've talked about for a long time around this table, and would certainly support either an endorsation of this particular resolution tonight, or refer to staff and bring it back to AA autumn mid. Look at the merits of us joining into Kingston on the legal aspect of this. So.
I'll second endorsation, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks very much. Just for those watching, heads and beds, it sounds a little funny, but basically when you have institutions, correct, Councilor Whitehead, they don't pay taxes, but the province understands the toilets are flushed, the services are used, and all that, so they provide a certain payment which has not increased at all in how long?
Since 1970.
lot of money. So, please, I just want to be sure the public's also aware of that. We're short-changed that.
25 million will do a nice piece on our budget number. All in favor?
Carried.
Thank you. 5.4 is Lyme Disease Awareness Month. The recommendation that be received. Councilor Johnson, Councilor Duval, all in favor? Carried. Correspondence from Patience Adamu, Municipal Partnerships, with a request for a proclamation for the Pan Am Parapan Am Day. Recommendation to receive this. Councilor Rowley, Councilor Bula, all in favor?
Carried.
Carried. Association of the AMO Communication respecting Ontario's PC interest arbitration private members bill. Lost on vote. The recommendation to receive that. Councilor Jackson.
Mr. Mayor, putting all partisan politics aside, this is about looking at the private members bill that unfortunately lost in the provincial legislature regarding some substantial changes to the arbitration process. This council, I think, has taken a unanimous position in the past this term to ask the province to please look at fixing the arbitration process primarily from the ability of the municipality to be able to pay, which isn't factored in arbitration hearings and decisions with some of the public sector workers and primarily those that are involved in emergency services. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm very disappointed what happened in the House. I don't know why the vote was the way it was, 52 against, only 36 for. I can't get in the minds and heads of the ones of the 52 who voted against it, again, all partisanship aside. And our president of AMO, our excellent representative, Councillor Powers, is away on city business tonight. And I just would hate to just receive this here tonight. I would just somehow, if we can convey the message, our disappointment in light of the council position previously, and possibly send this off to AMO and the president and our representative, Councillor Powers, for further deliberations. I can't believe AMO is going to let this just die. Those are my comments. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I certainly second that motion to send a letter to all three parties, quite frankly, and AMO, talking about our disappointment. For those that are watching, interest arbitration, I know there's an argument that there's some really negotiated contracts that are very close to what is being negotiated in interest arbitration. I want to let people know that a lot of those three decisions are based on what's transpired through precedents in interest arbitration. So basically, if an interest arbitrator awarded in Peterborough 3.4%, and you're now in negotiations with your own association, often because of that standard that's being created by the arbitrator, has recommended to give that 3.4%, whatever it might be, to your bid services, because you will only lose in arbitration because the arbitrator already ruled in another jurisdiction. So often, what they call is the volunteer agreements are really not volunteer agreements, and so that certainly taints the information. The other issue, Mr. Mayor, is interest arbitration currently, we just read an award recently, is really about maintaining essential services, police services, or fire services at a level that they currently are relative to their other services across the province of Ontario. So if Hamilton is, say, number 4 on that list, then basically how the interest arbitrator looks, regardless of the individual circumstances of the community, is that the police services in Hamilton needs to be maintained at level 4. And that's what is ruled on. So it really doesn't take in all those other considerations, the ability to pay or downturn in the economy or impacts on the community. It really does spend way too much time on where the services rank amongst their peers amongst Ontario. And it's certainly a system that's broken and really needs to put more weight on individual circumstances of the community. So I certainly support Councillor Jackson's motion to send a letter off to all three parties and AMO, talk about our disappointment on the loss of this position.
So, Councillor, how would you suggest the letter be drafted, by whom? Should we send this to governance, or?
No, I think it's from the mayor's office, basically saying on behalf of council how disappointed we are. Understanding even Wynn, I understand Premier Wynn has indicated that she's going to be looking at interest arbitration.
to deal with this particular file. As I recall, what transpired is the new premier indicated a willingness to look at this and have her staff come up with solutions to it. And another party chose to jump on the bandwagon with a private member's bill and try to cause some political upturn in the House. The bill that was proposed by the private member was not what the government was looking at. So I would suggest that we are going to send a letter to state something to the effect that regardless of what transpired in the House on such and such day, the city of Hamilton still has concerns about interest arbitration, et cetera, as opposed to allowing it to become more political in nature.
Okay, and the message heard, and Councilor Christie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and certainly I have no problem with that. I agree. I think we need to make sure that the floor is open. And I certainly also would suggest a friendly addition that a copy of this also go to Mr. Jim Wilson, and to AIMO, so they're aware of our standings and our plan.
Okay, so, oh, I'm sorry, Councilor first.
Yeah, I just need clarity with the mover. I think what I heard from the mover is that a letter was sent to AIMO, which is okay, but I think it should be co-addressed to the Minister of Labor, who has the power to make the changes. Councilor Parks told him that he wants to take the politics out of it, but it needs to be addressed to the Minister of Labor, who has the power to fix it with a copy to the Premier and to AIMO, because they're the ones that informed us of this last motion. So just some clarity from the mover. Who will this be addressed to? Are you okay with being co-addressed to AIMO and to the Minister of Labor?
You're good with that, Mr. Mayor?
Just to keep the peace apart, that's all.
That's good. So you're okay, Councilor Whitehead, with addressing it to the Minister? Thank you.
Thanks, and I think all of us believe that something eventually will come of this because it's being attacked from so many sides, so that's good. So, correspondence from, all in favor?
Carried.
Correspondence from Gordon Searles, Canadian Dermatology, requesting recognition of Light Orange for Melanoma Monday, Monday, May 6th. Recommendation is to receive and refer to the General Manager of Public Works for appropriate action.
I'll move that, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Jackson, second by Whitehead. All in favor?
Carried.
Correspondence from Karen Legovici, the President of the FCM, congratulating Hamilton for achieving milestone 5 of the Partners for Climate Protection. Do you want to speak to that, Councilor?
Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. This is indeed a significant milestone. There are very few municipalities across the country that have moved this far along the climate change program that the Federation of Canadian Municipalities has. This is milestone 5, the last milestone of the group to indicate that we've gone through all the different plans and strategies for climate change, and we've reached the furthest point, the most comprehensive plan for climate change, along with 16 other municipalities across the country. So that's really significant. An awful lot of hard work's gone into this, and I just want to recognize our staff, in particular Brian Montgomery, who's been working on this for many years. And Brian, as you know now, is housed in our public health department, which I think is a great place for the issue of climate change to be placed, given the significant health concerns that may arise now and over time with climate change issues. Just hats off to many other staff as well. I know Public Works, Jerry's group in particular, has done an awful lot to reduce our air emissions, and along with that carbon dioxide emissions, greenhouse gas emissions. The planning work that Tim McCabe's group, the nodes and corridors approach, the smart growth approach they're taking also contributes significantly to this. And every group through the energy conservation group we have here in the city, not only in public works, but working on buildings right across the city. City Housing Hamilton, tooting our own horn, Mr. Mayor, has done an awful lot to reduce energy use in our buildings, corresponding greenhouse gas reduction use as well. So just didn't want to let this go by without noting how significant it is. The folks that we've joined right across the country as municipalities, and of course, it truly is municipalities that are leading the way in climate change reduction versus any other level of government. And I think we should all be proud of that. The FCM representatives we have here working hard at Councillor Dubois, Councillor Whitehead. The last point, just for tomorrow, Mr. Mayor, you'll be there. Our very first environmental summit is occurring tomorrow at the Waterfront Center, where the Chamber of Commerce used to be down on the bay. And I got an opportunity to be part of that at the front end of the meeting. I think you're coming around lunchtime or something. But we're celebrating all the incredible environmental work, including climate change work, right across the city. Councillor Johnson's involved, I think, in that as well. Her work on environmental issues. So this is the place to be. One of the leaders across the country, Mr. Mayor, in climate change and environmental protection. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor. That meeting tomorrow, for information of council, we have the first Leeds Tim Hortons in Canada open in Hamilton at the Councillor Duval's, Councillor Jackson, sorry, of Ottawa. Okay. And I hope we give that presentation because it's amazing what they did in that building. So on the recommendation to receive this, all in favor?
Carried.
Okay, then we have correspondence from Sharon McKenzie, Executive Director, Intergenerational Society. Recommendation we receive that. Partridge, Masuda, all in favor?
Carried.
Correspondence from Ryan McGreal, editor of Raise the Hammer, respecting reaffirmation of council's support for light rail transit. Councilor Johnson, move it. Second, Ferguson, all in favor?
Carried.
Correspondence from Nicholas Ketlahan, expressing for support for the B-line. Recommendation to receive it. Moved by Whitehead, second by Duval, all in favor?
Carried.
Correspondence from Gregory Gallant, expressing support for LRT in Hamilton. Received. Partridge, Masuda, all in favor?
Carried.
And correspondence from Dr. Tom Doyle, PhD, PA, expressing support for LRT in Hamilton. Recommendation is received. That. Moved by Caldwell, second by Rule, all in favor?
Carried.
Councillor Ferguson, a motion please on the communications as amended.
I'd be happy to move myself, seconded by Councillor Robert Masuda. The Council Communications 5.1 through 5.13 be approved as amended as follows. Just went through the whole.
All in favor?
Carried.
Councillor Johnson, a motion please to move in a committee of the whole for consideration of the committee reports.
Mr. Mayor, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Mariah Person, that council move into the committee of the whole for consideration of the committee reports.
All in favor?
Carried.
And I turn the chair over now to the deputy mayor this month. Councillor Wood, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and welcome to second council meeting in April. The first report from the Audit and Finance and Administration Committee presents its fourth report. And all in favor of 1,
Carried.
2. Councilor Christian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment on item 1. This is the report with regards to 2012 insurance claims review. It was a good news report, pretty well good news report. Most of the areas of claims have come down, and that's good for the city of Hamilton. Because annually our insurance policy premium is in the range of $3.5 million up. So this is good news for the city of Hamilton. There's a lot of infrastructure works that are being done or saving tax dollars as this is. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for letting us know that. Item 2.
Carried.
Item 3.
Carried.
4.
Carried.
5. 5. Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I just wanted to thank the council and specifically Mr. Murray and Helen from our HR division. We spent quite a little bit of time reviewing what was proposed for the succession planning that came before us once before. And as a result of a number of discussions, and we had discussions with Massey University, we were able to come up with a program that really is talking about succession development, leadership development for our entire city. And it's at a fraction of the cost that was originally intended. And I think everyone will be pleased as it rolls out with the cooperation of McMaster's for school business and others in the community. We will actually get succession development program so that we don't have any surprises, or we try not to have any surprises if we decide to move on to the corporation. Thank you.
Thank you. Successful pension is always a good policy to follow. So all in favor?
Carried.
Carried. Item 6. Councilor Collins, Councilor White. And Councilor Wood.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to thank the members of the Audit, Finance, and Administration Committee for passing the resolution. As you might recall, I raised this issue at Council several months ago when there was the whole issue of discontinuing the Wi-Fi initiative that we had in the center of the city, downtown. And I, at the time, had been working with our recreation staff to make all of my rec facilities within Ward 5 with wireless capability. And so special thanks to not just our IT folks, but our recreation folks who made that happen. And I can say that what's fascinating me the most with the Wi-Fi installations across the city, and look no further than first floor of the Central Library. Councillors Pearson, Jackson, and the Library Board have done a tremendous job in terms of inviting and opening their doors to people to use that technology, and by extension, those computer users, people using the Wi-Fi, are using other resources within the library system. And so their turnstiles continue to turn. And in the discussions that I had with rec staff, my thought process was that, as we're struggling to try to tackle the whole issue of obesity, my concern was that, how do we lure or encourage more youth and young children into our recreation centers. And so staff were tremendous in terms of setting up a gaming facility at the Riverdale Recreation Center. It's been tremendously popular. We've had lineups for kids to get in, and our staff now have the ability to channel those same kids into the swimming pool or the gymnasium. And so the fact that we're now introducing Wi-Fi into some of or all of our recreation centers with the motion that will pass here tonight will not just give those same kids the opportunity to use computers and other technological devices that they may not have at home in our buildings, but it also gives the parents and others who might be waiting for the hockey practice or watching their children compete in a dance competition in a gymnasium, gives them the added ability to do work or to socialize or to use wireless devices within our centers. And so it's an added convenience. It's a fairly low cost when you look at all the facilities that we retrofitted. And I wanted to thank staff for pursuing this, because it took under a year to accomplish this in our line of work. That's quite remarkable in some cases. So I wanted to thank them for making it a priority, and the committee, of course, for supporting it.
Thank you, Councilor Whitehead.
Thank you. I actually met with staff today and really appreciate the discussion. I certainly fully support of the motion. It's just out of interest when we set up the wireless originally downtown, and the council today supported that. I had looked at Fredericton, and the council that I met with initiated the hotspots in Fredericton, Hamilton. And so it's interesting to share the stories of Hamilton and how he got into politics in Fredericton and led the whole wireless thing. At that time, it was Philadelphia had worked with the mesh system, with Cisco systems and so forth, and it was $21 million they spent on Wi-Fi for the whole community. And then there was a lawsuit, and it ended up that the city owns it, but the private sector operates it. So obviously, it is an expensive venture, and I see in section E, we explore through a citizen committee the potential of a mesh wireless network, and obviously the technology costs do come down, so it's still at least something worth exploring, so that we can have that network and capacity right across the whole city. Obviously in the report, Mr. Chair, and rightly so because of affordability, it's not recommending to go to the parks because of the hardware and so forth that we would have to spend at this point in time. But it doesn't negate, and this is a discussion I had with staff, we have new parks yet to be developed. Westmont, for example, I believe Stony Creek probably already has a ready for interface because being a new facility of the new standards, we put the infrastructure, the firewire into those facilities. So it's already there. The older facilities are where there'll probably be some investments. So that interface as a new standard moving forward on new rec centers or municipal service centers is a good one. And I just want to make sure that we apply that to the parks, understanding that right now there'll be a major expenditure to go into the parks. Certainly we can start as part of the standard on those parks that meet the criteria to make sure that we put the firewire into those parks so that we're ready in the future and not miss the opportunity to economy scale. So I just wanted to add that because I think talking to staff that flexibility will be there and it will be part of the new standard. I want to thank again Councillor Collins for focusing on the rec centers because it is certainly a great place to start to encourage people that otherwise wouldn't go to municipal centers to encourage you to get there. And again, I want to thank all staff for bringing this report forward. Thank you.
Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Let me start off by saying that I think on the surface we say Wi-Fi, municipal buildings, and access to this, and I don't think it really spells out the impact that this particular issue has on this community. And I'll explain why. In years past, segregation, whether it be access to athletics or access to opportunity, would be separated from a social economic standpoint. access to Wi-Fi throughout the city. And I believe that every single aspect of the city, or every area of the city, should have access to Wi-Fi. Nobody, no part of the city, we should be able to walk up on that street and have access to it. And I'll explain why. It's affordability. We have a lot of kids, we talk about the cold red areas, we talk about opportunity. And one thing that we do in this city and in this province and in this country better than anywhere else in the world is that we don't segregate, we integrate. And this is just an example, a very small example of how we use this as a model on a grander scale to ensure that kids out there that can't afford access to the internet can get access to the internet just by going to a park or just by going outside, rather than perhaps being dependent on a family unit that can't afford it. So I can't speak strongly enough in support of this particular item, only because I think it's a very small step towards a larger step of ensuring that we have a plan of action that's very comprehensive, citywide, and ensures that every single kid in this particular city, if we're going to be the best city in the country to raise a child, we have to ensure that we don't segregate them, that we ensure that they have access to Wi-Fi, because it's as important today as having access to any athletic or sporting event 20 or 25 years ago was, if not even more, for access to the library. So for that reason, not only do I support this, but I support expanding this initiative to ensure that we have free Wi-Fi throughout the city, regardless of income or social-economic issues. I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Councilor?
I'm just curious, we're going to have free Wi-Fi or in the community centers, that we're going to have computers available to the people in my ward that can't afford them. Wi-Fi doesn't mean much to 25% of the people in my ward when they can't afford a computer. They don't have a laptop, they don't have iPads. So we're making free Wi-Fi available, but to the people who actually could use it, because they can't afford it, they don't have the hardware either.
But they do have access to the libraries, Councilor White.
Valid point.
Councilor Mark has the floor.
Oh, no, I wanted to
Appreciate everyone jumping in and supporting me in my conclusion. But the libraries aren't open all the time. So the community centers are open longer, hockey games are going. You have Wi-Fi there, but the people who are actually using it, I hate to say it, those people are the ones that have Wi-Fi at home. They can afford it. So it's all well and fine that we're starting to go down this process, but I have grave concerns that we're really not having the impact that we would like to have, because, as I said, in my ward, and people think Stony Creek is a wealthy area, there may be people in the area that are quite wealthy, but there are also people in my ward that are quite poor. Homes with no cable, homes with no TV, homes without computers, because they simply cannot afford it. So we have to be aware that this is just one step. At some point, if you're going to put them in the community centers, you're going to need something in the community centers so that the kids can do their homework after hours, not just, I guess, go to the library at the school and try and get on the computer, because there's not that many in the libraries to service the entire community in my area.
Okay, no other first-time speakers, second-time speakers. Is Councilor Rula first?
On that point, and I appreciate the comments made by Councilor Thornton, I think they're very, very focusing on what the real problem is, and that's access. So in essence, once we have the foundation of the infrastructure in place to ensure that we have free access, the second phase of that is to work in conjunction with the school boards and other levels of government to ensure that everybody has access to the tools to in essence, be subjected to that Wi-Fi accessibility. So I think this is really the foundation of the issue that Councilor Clark brought forward, in that a TV or a computer is useless unless you have access to the actual grander scheme of it. So in essence, with the foundation being the access to Wi-Fi leads to the probability that we'll be able to advocate on behalf of individuals who can't afford the actual unit themselves to actually access it, either through the school board, the province, or other advocates, and to ensure that we have a foundation
kids who live in the Riverdale area, many of those kids are coming from other parts of the world where they don't even have television at home. In fact, I just attended a meeting the other day where we talked about there are many of the kids who go to Lake Avenue School who've never been to a movie theater. So they're living without many of the extras or frills or some of the benefits that our own children are growing up with. And so my goal and objective, Councillor Clark's point is a great one. You know, it's all well and good to have Wi-Fi, but if you don't have the device to utilize the Wi-Fi, it's all for naught. And so we're working now with staff to, at least in Riverdale, to see maybe 10 or 12 different computers, very similar to the ones in the library, but very low cost. We're going to see at first if there's a private sector entity out there that will donate the resources to install them in Riverdale. But my goal through the next year after having the Wi-Fi would be that, at least in the 3 facilities in my area, Rosedale, Riverdale, and the Laurier Center on Quigley, is to see those computers put in there with some programming around it to get at some of the issues that Councillor Clark and others have raised. And so it's a good point, and I think it speaks to the fact that we really need to copy and the model that the library has adopted so successfully for the last number of years. It's working, and it can work elsewhere, including our arenas and recreation centers.
Thank you, Councillor Park.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Just briefly, many on this committee might recall my last ditch effort around this horseshoe during a council meeting, and looking at one of these committee reports from audit administration to try, as I did, however, unsuccessfully save the Wi-Fi here in the downtown core. I asked a few, I thought, pretty good questions, and maybe I came up with at the time. I thought a pretty good suggestion. However, here tonight, what we have is, I think, something very prudent. I think there is now a Wi-Fi going to the right place. I love the point made the first time around by the board's wide councillor when we're talking about the kids and the progressive attitudes they're already having and addressing what it is the kids are interested in and how you can lure today's children into our facilities and address some of our fitness issues by attracting them to what it is they like best. And on my boy's 8th birthday this very day, I can tell you what he likes very best is working with gadgets and computers and being near these machines. And he's not unlike most kids these days. And so if we can have that opportunity and then start pulling them into the pool and pulling them into the gym, that's great. And so what we may have lost centrally here in the downtown core, clearly we have gained in a very big way in places in Ward 2, like Eastwood Arena, like Bonetto Rec Center, like Central Memorial Rec Center, and as it already has been identified for some time now, the Central Library. So, and then notwithstanding the fact I heard a very good argument from, I think it was Councillor Clark at the time, there's a lot of facilities and restaurants, and we'll just have one open in the Lister Block very soon anyway, that are offering free Wi-Fi. There's more coming, I'm sure, to the downtown. So what we may have lost at that occasion not long ago, we certainly are gaining in the right place, in my opinion, here in Ward 2 and across the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. You're the last speaker I have, so into the viewers of the home, the motion that we put to a vote now is to install Wi-Fi in all 26 city recreation centers and all municipal service centers. All in favor?
Carry.
Thank you. Item 7?
Carry.
Item 8?
Carry.
Item 9?
Carry.
And Councillor Pearson, you have a motion on the floor.
Yes, Mr. Deputy Mayor, thank you. It's been moved by myself, second by Councillor Brandon Johnson, that the fourth report of the Audit, Finance, and Administration Committee be adopted in the information section received.
All in favor?
Carry.
Thank you. The Planning Committee presents its sixth report for the 2013 and respectfully, recommends item 1,
Carry.
2,
Carry.
3,
Carry.
4,
Carry.
5,
Carry.
6. Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. And I just wanted to mention, this is the application that was approved at committee, and I thank my colleagues with regards to development in Ward 10, by Lysani on Duet Road. Just for committee's information, I really appreciated the residents who did come out on this, and I am prepared to work very closely with the developer and the residents with the issues that they raised. But they were very supportive. The neighborhood has been very supportive of this development. It's 48 single-family residential homes. And I just need to add also that just in timelines, this potential development has been in the makings for over 20 years in Ward 10. So it's taken that long to amass all of the lands that were long lots. And certainly with the involvement is said and done and it's developed, it means a revenue of over $4 million to the city of Hamilton and $2.2 million plus in taxes that will come to the municipality. So that's 48 single-family residential homes. A third of it is going to be is a wood lot that will be maintained and handed over to the city. So it is a win-win all the way around, and I just want to put that forward so residents know that some of these things take a bit of time to put together. Thank you.
Thank you for the background, Councilor Pearson. So back to the item. All in favor?
Carried.
Item 9?
Carried.
Item 10?
Carried.
Item 11?
Carried.
Item 12?
Carried.
Councilor Farr, I understand you have an amendment to item 13.
I do, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and it's moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Greg Morelli. It's before you. With respect to item 13 in the Planning Committee, 13-006, respecting the Urban Hamilton official plan, proposed settlement of part of appeal by Paletta International Corporation legal direction. So it's amendments.
Okay, it's been duly moved and seconded. The amendment. All in favor of the amendment?
Carried.
Opposed? That carries. To item 13 then, as amended. All in favor?
Carried.
Opposed? That carries. Councillor Johnson, can I have a motion on the report?
Yes, you may. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Maria Pearson, that the 6th report of the Planning Committee be adopted as amended and the information section received.
All in favor? The General Issues Committee presents its 9th report for 2013 and respectfully recommends item 1, item 2, 3, 4. Councillor Jackson.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, especially for the viewing audience by way of Cable 14, this is tonight ratifying by Council the Memorandum of Understanding for Piers 7 and 8. A lot of publicity has been in the media, which I appreciate, for the return of Piers 7 and 8 back to the City of Hamilton so we can get on with enticing and encouraging more appropriate, proper development on our waterfront. Mr. Deputy Mayor, I think universally, not only have our citizens, but visitors and tourists to our community, if there's been one particular area of our city, one particular initiative that has gone the highest degree to helping to transform and change the image of the City of Hamilton from its rich past to its current state and for its future, has been the conversion of what's going on both at the West Harbor and along the beach strip as well, from Confed Park all the way to the Lift Canal Bridge. And I'm just so proud of the partnerships, and I want to commend Chris Murray and our city staff, senior management team. I've never seen such collaboration and cooperation between various parts, agencies of our community, and I mean agencies like the Hamilton Port Authority, Hamilton Waterfront Trust, working in conjunction with the City of Hamilton, Yacht Club, Leander Boat Clubs, citizens at large, North End communities, collaborating in such a way that it's almost unprecedented, saying this is such a great high priority, and the literally universal acclaim that it has brought our city and prestige, making it a destination point, our West Harbor, Bayfront Park, the stairs up the McQuestion Bridge, Pier 4, all the great work that's gone on, and this will help the momentum continue. Great thanks as well, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to Chris Phillips, Al Dorr, and Lawrence Stasiak, who have kind of been the steering committee, who have brought all the various departments together, working under our city manager, Chris Murray, and the great team. There's more great news to come. Councillor Farr and I, and with the mayor, we've been able to share very confidentially with RFPs, requests for proposals that are currently out there. I think our community is going to be extremely pleased, excited, delighted, and encouraged to see the momentum continue to build, so that Hamilton is going to, I'm convinced, win even greater awards for all the investment that past councils and this council with past staffs and in partnership across our community has done to bring great honor to this city through the development at the West Harbor and along the beach strip. I've said it many times before, I'll say it again until the cows come home. It has also brought economic spin-offs in a way that otherwise would not have occurred. And again, when you look along the beach strip that Councillor Collins represents, when you see townhomes going for $400,000 on Hamilton's Beach Boulevard, 25 years ago, that would have been unheard of. And that's just a small example of the social, recreational, tourist, and economic benefits that are accruing because of the tremendous effort of everybody pulling together. And I'm just so proud to be a part of it. Thanks, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. And I see Chris Phillips is also here with us tonight on this issue. Councillor Collins.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, and I too wanted to thank staff. If you recall, at the beginning of the term, we were each asked a question in terms of what we hope to accomplish this term, and certainly, you know, apart from the ward, the goals that I have within my ward and the neighborhood issues that I'm working on, for me across the city, the biggest issue was securing Piers 7 and 8 from the Hamilton Port Authority. And as I've said a number of times around this table related to waterfront development, one of the biggest problems we've experienced over the years is the fact that we haven't had any land to develop. And so we've come up with a vision through setting sail, through the recreational master plan. We have a tremendous amount of homework that under our belt as it relates to plans and studies and everything else. And the biggest dilemma that we faced over the last decade or more is the fact that we haven't had any land to develop. And so the fact that we've been able to secure from the Port Authority lands that we really didn't anticipate receiving back for at least another decade or so is a huge victory for the city for many of the reasons that Councillor Jackson highlighted in terms of the tax assessment that comes with the growth, the residential units that we have planned, especially on Pier 8. We have almost 1,200 units that are planned, residential units that are planned on that pier. And so you start looking at the growth that's going to come with that, and that helps the image for the West Harbour. It's an image builder for that area, but it also helps across the city. I mean, unfortunately, the image that most people have of our community is that skyline over the Skyway when they're traveling either to or from Niagara or in Toronto. And there's so many other areas of the city that have a lot more to offer than just that industrial skyline. And that skyline is nothing to be ashamed of. It's part of our history. It's built this city in many ways. But there are other parts of this community I think that many people outside of our borders are completely unaware of. And so, as Councillor Jackson mentioned, our staff have done a tremendous job over the last number of years, and our greatest victory, I think, was hiring Chris Murray as our city manager, who, you know, sometimes working with us is like herding cats, who managed to come up with a strategic plan that actually highlights the fact that the waterfront is going to be a priority. And I can tell you that as someone who has almost every year brought a motion or two regarding the waterfront, if you recall, you know, to bring the trolley here, it was a one-off report. The trail development, these were one-off reports. The public art even was a one-off report, and we had nothing comprehensive. And it was Mr. Murray who pulled together SMT in all departments, as was highlighted earlier, and then you know, ensured that council was on board as well through a strategic plan that brought that all together. So I want to thank Chris and SMT and everyone who's done a tremendous job. And again, as I said at the committee, it was just 20 years ago, we were talking about tall ships, because the tall ships are back June the 28th, I think, through July 1st. And it was about 20 years ago, or 30 now, where the last tall ships had visited here. And if you were down on Pier 8 at that point in time, you were standing on a concrete pad behind a frost fence, and people were trying to jockey for this little small patch of grass to get the best vantage point of taking a picture of the tall ships that were coming in. And now you look at what's been accomplished, again, without access to property in many cases. We've come a long way. And the fact, again, that it's a priority for us through future budgets is, I think, refreshing. So I too want to thank all of those who are part of bringing this motion to fruition and helping us cross the finish line with what has been a very difficult task. We've tried for 4 consecutive terms to get the Port Authority to agree with the terms and conditions that we have here. We started with a list that was into the millions of dollars in terms of the demands that were coming from their organization, and so they need to be commended as well. For as much as I've been a critic of the Port Authority in the past as it relates to environmental issues, they've bent over backwards here to make this happen, and they should be commended for it as well. So thanks for the opportunity to speak, Mr. Chairman, and I'm going to be strongly supporting item number 4.
Thank you. Councillor Marula.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Let me firstly start off by thanking Councillor Collins for his vision and work on not only the West Harbour, but also the east side development of the waterfront. And also, it would be remiss of me not to mention Dominic Agostino, the former alderman in Ward 5, and Shirley Collins, who's Chad's mother, who saw the vision of where cities had to go. And, you know, there are things that we do here and that we inherit. We inherited a mess in the West Harbor. I was born in the West Harbor. Actually, the first house I ever lived in was on 2 Greg Street, my dad's first house in the mid-50s. And I can assure you that I can recall growing up looking out my bedroom window, and I would watch the trains and the smoke, and the actual rattling of the train would put me to sleep because the house would shake with it, and things would fall off the stove. And, you know, it was part of living in West Harbor. And my dad worked diligently to move out of West Harbor. People are now working to get back to West Harbor. And it's because we've taken back the waterfront, and it was because of the vision of the previous councillors and the previous politicians who recognized that the future of the city is the waterfront, whether it be the West Harbor or whether it be the East Harbor. So, and I say to people, let's not stop here. This is really, I know we have a lot of distractions about it, and we have a lot of bonehead comments made. We have literally illiterate or quasi-illiterate bloggers out there who just don't understand it. But the reality of the issue is this. We have before us the grunt work, because it's so much decades of work that has gone into this. And it's the stuff that is made up of not happening overnight. It's not the flash in the pan and let's see the development of it. It's something that happens over decades, because we inherited decades of neglect. You look at cities like New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. All of these cities have gone through that renaissance. They've recognized they used to throw the low-income housing by the water with the industrial core, and then everything moved out. Well, you know what? We're reversing the trend. And when I got on council 14 years ago, trending meant one thing. Today, it means a whole other thing in social media. And the trend right now is that our waterfront is the future of this city. Has actually been shown to be the future of most North American cities. And for those that don't get it, I say, get out of the city, because frankly, anyone that stands in our way and becomes an obstacle for this development doesn't deserve to live in this city. So to hell with them. So let's focus in on what's important to what the city is. The future of the city is the waterfront, not only West Harbor, but East Harbor. And for those out there that are distracting the whole issue and not looking at the facts, but looking at the fiction, to hell with you, because we're too busy making things happen. And I appreciate your time, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Always colorful. Thank you. Councillor Farr.
If you don't see a tweet from Councillor Marula at 4 a.m. this morning, it's because a train just went by. I really, truly appreciate the passion from our previous speakers, and I'll just focus quickly on what is now in store, because a lot of obvious and terrific things are about to occur. And then I want to ask a question of Chris Murray, which is quite simple, and that would be sum it up for us. I think he deserves an opportunity here this evening to briefly address the issue, because it is that one very dominant and important one as it relates to our strategic plan and goals of this body. So engagement follows, and something that I want to ensure the Ward 2 residents, and I know I speak for the inner city wards or the central city wards anyway, there's some very passionate people out there, and there are some very educated people as it relates to a plan, a setting sail secondary plan. It's been around for some time right now. It's been debated, it's been talked about. There's been a lot of engagement in the early days, putting the plan together, a lot of public discussion. There's been public discourse. There's been appeals. But here we are now, and we're ready to get rolling on a very, very significant development here in our city. 7 and 8. What's going on now along the lake has already been indicated, but particularly with setting sail, it's a pledge I'll make here tonight that we're going to maintain the engagement. We will even enhance the engagement, and we will appreciate and respect the setting sail secondary plan. And I hope Chris addresses that in a few seconds, because there are a lot of folks out there who really know it inside out and appreciate what it stands for in terms of the kind of development. We do not want a central Toronto waterfront where there is no view and there's nothing but a wall. We have in our setting sail secondary plan something that is very respectful but also very beneficial in terms of development here in the city. So I very much look forward to and pledge to be part of that engagement with my community, that's for sure. And I can assure everyone around this table there'll be plenty of folks that want to take part in things like design studies and PICs and the like. So through you to our city manager, Chris Murray, just how significant, Chris, is this, what's before us tonight?
So, Mr. Murray, can you sum up for the viewers at home what we'll be approving here is item 4?
It's you, Deputy Mayor. In essence, it's the green light for us to take back lands earlier than expected to turn them into the development that you've envisioned for a long time. So we're simply carrying out what this council and previous councils have long thought was possible within this part of Hamilton. And I'd just like to say we greatly appreciate the recognition. As you know, it is all of the departments that you see represented here. It's Chris Phillips, and there's a number of other people involved. So when you give us that recognition, it just motivates us to do more. But I can say without hesitation that the guys that are working and the gals that are working on this are excited because they know how important this is to Hamilton. And to the councillor's point about engagement, we have some of our healthy neighborhoods people are involved in this who do, I think, pretty good engagement for us. The scale of this is going to be right for Hamilton. People talk about Toronto's waterfront. There's really two barriers to the waterfront. The Gardiner is one, and the other is that massive wall of development that severs it from its downtown. Ours will not be that way. Our downtown and our waterfront will work together and will be done at a scale that makes sense to Hamiltonians, and will have mixed uses that make sense. And this is all laid out in the plan that the OMB has approved. So we just love the fact we get on with it. You saw some pictures, and we got to thank the Spectator for giving it the coverage it has. It's absolutely worthy of being celebrated. And, as staff, it's once in a lifetime you get to work on a great project like this. And so, we see at the end of the day that this will be not just a jewel for Hamilton, but it may very well be the best example of healthy neighborhood development in the country. Our transportation work is first rate right now. We're working in step with the folks that live down there. And so all of it, it's one of those projects that you get once in a career maybe. And our guys are motivated. So thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you, Chris. Well said. Councillor Farr, anything else?
No, thank you to Chris. And just as a sidebar, probably an appropriate time to mention there's about 2 weeks left to those developers watching at home to get in on our RFP for the Waterfront Trust lands. There's 3 parcels there, and the RFP is out there now for anybody who may be interested. Some already are, to maybe work with us in putting something special by the Discovery Center lands and the ice rink and all the good stuff that's found on the Waterfront Trust lands. And as I say, 2 weeks to go before that RFP closes, and already some pretty significant interest. And you should know that our board, I think, for the most part, is very much appreciative and will respect, obviously, the setting sail secondary plan as we go forward with those properties. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Whitehead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just, quick history. 100 years ago, the city petitioned the federal government to set up a port authority on city-owned lands. The port authority was set up, was a Harbor Commission at the time, and the Harbor Commission came into place, and part of the principles was that any profits that were made by the Harbor Commission on city-owned lands would go return back to the city. Well, in fact, over those 100 years, not 1 cent came back to the city from the profits. Lawsuit ensued as a result of the negotiations, both with the province and through Sheila Copps, the federal government. A resolution came out of that, and in that resolution was additional dollars that went to create the Waterfront Trust that established what they did. And of course, the other component was Lax property. People remember it was a wasteland. It was a I guess it was a wrecking yard or mental scrap yard, and the city recaptured that particular piece of land, that jewel. And through the provincial government, then it was the Peterson government, then I guess the Ray government came in and fulfilled the commitment that was made of, I think it was $10 million to clean up the land. So this is sort of the history of how things evolved, the Waterfront Trust, and then of course, with the waterfront. then the Waterfront Trust, in conjunction with the city and setting sail, start moving those yardsticks year by year, and providing more and more amenities and creating a more attractive place for the community to come. So when I look at this report, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I look at the ingenuity, the vision, and the commitment, not only by this council, but by staff and led by certainly our city manager and all his capable staff with him. And I want to thank Mayor Morrow as well, because he was part of the beginning of this process, and I had worked for him at the time. Should recognize that as well. But all these things are coming together and really seeing that vision be realized. Lands are being transferred more quickly to the city as a result of this plan, which means that revenue will be generated more quickly in regards to amenities and possibilities on the waterfront. And of course, my pet peeve, of course, is being a boater, not a yachtsman, but a boater, one of those recreational guys that drive the big boats nuts with the little boats going on the water. But you get a lot of them where, and you see now that you get the I call them sea-doos because I'm still old-fashioned, but the watercrafts, they do tours now, and they go, 10, 12, 14, 20, and they go from city to city to city on the Great Lakes. What's happening in Hamilton is we're creating amenities here like the restaurants, Sequoia, and so forth, are becoming destination places. And what's built in this plan is accommodations for those recreational users to not only boat and make Hamilton a destination place, but amenities will be provided for them to dock their boats and enjoy the many amenities that we have now and we continue to expand on. So congratulations to all involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Patino.
Very quickly, the province has made an enormous investment with regard to this file with the all-day two-way GO train station and service, peak hour service by 2015. And this, can you imagine the value of residential development on a waterfront with an all-day GO train service back to Toronto? So I really appreciate the province doing that. The other issue, though, that is the railway yard itself, because Piers 7 and 8 are the transfer of those properties to us is amazing, as Councillor Collins said. No land. We got about 300 acres of land under those railway tracks, and if we could just figure some place to move them, there would be another further explosive opportunity for us with the GO train and all of the other developments taking place. So I don't want to let that go by, because quite often we seem to forget that this is a substantial investment, which will be in, when it's all said and done, in the hundreds of millions of dollars for our city to help grow that waterfront. And I get a kick out of Councillor Marula's reflections of hearing the trains go by, because those were diesels. When I was going down there on my bicycle, they were steam engines, and they were even smokier. Anyway, congratulations on this file. I think it speaks so well for our future. Okay, so item 4 is explained by the city manager. All in favor? Carried. Opposed? That carried unanimously. Item 5. Carried. 6. Carried. 7. 7 is Councillor McCaddy.
Actually, it was on item 6, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Okay.
This is the relaunch of our citizen engagement project. Folks will remember we had worked for a period of time with a consulting company on this project, trying to develop the best way to engage citizens in Hamilton on a variety of subjects that we're concerned about. And we pulled back on that project for a period of time and refocused, and the work that's coming out now is being led by Paul Johnson of our Neighborhoods Project and Chris Murray, our city manager, and other staff to re-engage citizens right across Hamilton in the various neighborhoods on where they want to see the city going. And it really relies fully on the abilities of city staff to engage, and the ward councillors as well, as a much greater role this time around for the ward councillors in their individual wards. And just as a matter of the work that we do on a weekly basis, we become I was going to use the word experts. I'm not sure that's the right term, but those involved in a great deal of public consultation. So we have lots of exposure to it and lots of experience, what works, what doesn't work, and we're going to get a chance to be involved in that now. So I just wanted to to let people know that we've, as this says here, relaunched that program. So in the coming months, you'll see us out there engaging on our citizen engagement project. And I just want to thank Chris Murray, who did a lot of work on this to get it turned around and headed in the right pathway. And of course, Paul Johnson and other staff working with Chris. Thanks.
Okay, see no other speakers then. Number 8, all in favor? That was number 6. Better put my glasses back on so I can see it. 6 is carried. 7? 8? 9? Councillor Clark.
Just a question, Mr. Deputy Mayor. This is the disposition reconciliation year-end surplus. I'm wondering what type of state our reserves are in for social services with regards to Ontario Works. I believe we had dipped into that a number of times. So if I could ask that question, please.
Mr. Zagarek? Or Mrs. Priel, who would take to answer it?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I can begin. And I believe the status for the OW Stabilization Reserve has a balance of about $2 million or 1.8. Joanne may be able to.
Joanne?
So, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I turned 60 a couple of weeks ago, so I can't remember what the balance is in that particular reserve. We did tap into it this year, though, for the first time. Usually we let the cost hit the bottom line, but this year we did use the reserve. It was at $3 million, so it's down around $2 million. But the other thing is that we were asked to do a review of that reserve in terms of how we're going to ensure its sustainability. So Carrie Lubrick is working with, through Mike, in terms of a review of that and to bring some options back to council and committee for discussion on how we can ensure that there is money in that reserve going forward.
So to be clear, Mr. Deputy Mayor, then at this particular point, without that report here, this recommendation does not lock those surpluses into those specific reserves. If Mr. Zagarek needs to move money to that reserve, that can be done at a later date.
Mr. Zagarek, it can be a council resolution.
So through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, if council at a future date wishes to redistribute funding to a reserve from another reserve or from a revenue fund, council has the authority to do so, and staff, if directed by council, could come forward with a report at a future date, including the review of this particular reserve, the Ontario Works Stabilization Reserve. When staff come forward with a policy with respect to the sustainability of that reserve, there may be recommendations brought forward at that time with respect to the status of that reserve.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, will that policy on the sustainability of that reserve come forward at the same time as the overall policy on debt policy for the city?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, staff are targeting to bring the debt policy before committee and council this year in 2013. As well, we're looking to bring forward policies relating to 4 reserves, including the Ontario Works Stabilization Reserve, but also the Investment Strategy Reserve, the Tax Stabilization Reserve, and 2 other reserves. I can't recall what the 2 other reserves are at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. That satisfies me.
Thank you. So on item 9, all in favor? Carried. 10. Carried. 11. Carried. 12. Carried. 13. Carried. Now, members of council, you recall at the General Issues Committee there was an in-camera item with respect to development charges, and during the closed session, staff were provided with direction to item 1, Roman numeral 1, and Roman numeral 2 of this report reflects that as requested. Staff will be reporting back to council meeting on the results of this direction. Therefore, can I have a motion to lift item J2 and refer it to closed session portion of the agenda? So moved by Whitehead, second by Councillor McCaddy. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? So we'll hold off approving the General Issues Committee report until after the closed session. So the Public Works Committee now presents its 5th report for 2013 and respectfully recommends item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Councillor Whitehead, may I have a motion on the report?
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Scott Duval, that the 5th report of the Public Works Committee be adopted and the information section received.
All in favor? Let's move on then to 6.5, as the Board of Health presents its third report for 2013 and respectfully recommends item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mayor Bertinek, I have a motion on the report.
You may. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Judy Partridge that the third report of the Board of Health be adopted and the information section received.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'll turn the podium back over to you.
Thank you.
All in favor of receiving the Board of Health report?
Oh, yeah.
That's carried.
By the way, this is the last time ever that Deputy Mayor Ferguson will ever, unless something shocking happens. What was the explanation that the cycle of deputy mayors?
Well, it's the last time this term, and what happened is I replaced Councillor Councillor Powers, who asked to switch with me. I normally have October, and because Councillor Powers is president of AMO, he had a big agenda for April, so he asked to switch in October when apparently his agenda would be quite a bit slower. So there won't be 16 more months after October until the next election cycle. So it's my last time being deputy mayor for this term.
Well done.
Is that an applause of appreciation or applause of thank goodness he's not back again?
Just give the people what they want and you'll be a success. All right, Councillor Farr, we're on motions now. You have a motion.
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McCaddy. Board 1, it's a special occasion permit for the Valium Cow fundraiser, May 25th. Set before us. Item 7.1.
7.1.
Special occasion permit looking for
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you. Notices of motion. Councillor McCaddy, do you wish to introduce your notice of motion?
I do, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to, this is concerning the reaffirmation of Council's position regarding the B-Line LRT on King Street, and I'd like to begin by moving that the rules of order be waived in order to allow for the introduction of the motion, and I'd be moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ferguson.
All in favor? On the motion.
On the motion itself, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to read it.
Go ahead.
It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ferguson. And as I said, it's concerning the reaffirmation of Council's position respecting the B-Line LRT on King Street. So it reads as follows. Whereas City of Hamilton staff and City Council have been working on a detailed plan for a B-Line LRT for several years in partnership with Metrolinx in the province of Ontario. And whereas while there's a variety of important transit needs in Hamilton, including extending GO train service to the East Hamilton, implementing a fully functioning A-Line transit service, City Council had previously provided direction to City staff to prioritize a design for a B-Line LRT project. And whereas on February 27th, 2013, City Council voted unanimously to request 100% funding from the province of Ontario for a B-Line LRT on King Street, and I've referenced the GIC report that item was covered in. And whereas the Chamber of Commerce's Light Rail Transit Task Force, with members including Councillors Farr, Ferguson, myself, and Mayor Bertina, has been working diligently to promote a B-Line LRT on King Street in support of Council's position and in conjunction with many other individuals and organizations in Hamilton. And whereas it is critical that Hamilton communicate clearly with the province of Ontario on Council's LRT transit priority. Therefore, be it resolved, Part A, the Council's February 27, 2013 decision requesting 100% provincial capital funding from the province of Ontario for a B-Line LRT on King Street be reaffirmed. Part B reads that the Mayor be directed to represent City Council's position on a B-Line LRT on King Street to other government agencies and the private sector. Part C, that the Mayor be directed to include Councillors Farr, Ferguson, and McCaddy when communicating on Council transit priorities with the province of Ontario. And lastly, Part D, that a copy of Council's February 27, 2013 resolution respecting a B-Line LRT on King Street and a copy of this motion be forwarded to the Premier, the Minister of Transportation, and Hamilton area MPPs. And Mr. Mayor, if I can speak to that.
Yeah, please.
We earlier tonight under correspondence, we received several email pieces of correspondence from the community that supported the importance of emphasizing our priority of the B-line on King Street, the LRT work that we've done. And I think that was important. Received a number of emails like that over the past week or so. Those are just examples of those. It's particularly important to make sure the province of Ontario understands what our priority is. The real danger in not having that clearly specified by council and by the mayor is the concern over mixed messages going to the province. And as council knows, the province of Ontario Metrolinx has a number of requests for funding right across the GTA and Hamilton for rapid transit funding, whether it be Mississauga or Durham. Certainly Toronto has a lot of priorities as well. And it's going to be pretty easy for the province of Ontario to ignore Hamilton if we're sending mixed messages or if we're not being clear on what our priority is. That's always an option for any level of government funding a municipality. If it's not clear and it appears confused or perhaps controversial in any way, they could very well just choose to skip Hamilton with the funding. That's a real concern for our city. We don't want to jeopardize that funding, and it's critical in this case, and in all cases, of course, but certainly in this case, with the funding pending, that the council and the mayor are aligned on the council position. That report that we had in February, the Rapid Ready report that council received at GIC and ratified unanimously, 100%, including yourself, and it went on to council with the same unanimous support, was a comprehensive report. It talked about really a whole vision for Hamilton, talking about growth along our nodes and corridors, the B-line in particular on King Street, and the redevelopment that we would expect to realize as a result of the LRT investment. It also spoke to a number of other transit needs we have across the city, and it was comprehensive in that way. And I know, Mr. Mayor, you've spoken about the A-line in particular, heading up the mountain from the Bayfront to the airport, past Mohawk College and some of those areas. We have, those are two rapid transit facilities, the B-line, which we're focusing on as our council position. The A-line is certainly talked about in that report as well, and three additional rapid transit lines. You remember the acronym BLAST, B-L-A-S-T, and there were 5 different rapid transit lines talked about in that report. So I could see how, Mr. Mayor, you may have seen that those were all listed in that report, and including the A-line, and probably reference to the GO train work as well that you've done certainly already on the James Street station, but then to carry on further east is also an interest, a strong interest, I would suggest, for Hamilton. However, it's very, very important that the province of Ontario understand that for the last 3 to 4 years with Metrolinx dollars, and about $10 million in total has been spent, the majority of that provincial dollars, but also some of our local dollars as well through our capital budget, preparing a 30% design for the LRT B-line on King Street. And you'll remember, members of council, Mr. Mayor, you'll remember visits from Metrolinx where we had discussions with them. One of the discussions was, you know, how do we stack up against the other municipalities in terms of the work that we're doing? And John Howe, who was most often the representative from Metrolinx in those discussions, said, you know, you're ahead of any other municipality in your 30% design for your priority, your B-line along King Street. So we talked about it at a number of different meetings over that 3 to 4 year period. Metrolinx talked about it as well during that period. They were also very clear that that was the work that we were doing, and we received staff updates on it throughout that period of time. So I think at this point it's critical that we make it very clear what our priority is, and that we ask you, Mr. Mayor, to take that position of the B-line LRT on King Street, and also advocate for that in your discussions with the province of Ontario, with Metrolinx, And we've asked that the members of the LRT task force, Councillors Ferguson, Farr, and myself, also be brought in during those discussions that you have at the provincial level. Extremely important at this point. So at this point, just as I finish my comments, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask you, given what I anticipate will be a positive vote on this motion that I'm speaking to right now, if in fact Council reaffirms its earlier position of a B-line LRT on King Street, Mr. Mayor, will you represent that position when you visit the Premier or perhaps the Minister of Transportation, other provincial representatives, Metrolinx, asking for the $811 million that we need to build the B-line LRT on King Street, Mr. Mayor? Question to you on that, please.
Well, thank you, Councillor. There's nothing else I can do under the mandate of the procedural bylaw and the Municipal Act. I have to represent that position, and I have represented that position. And the position, to me, is what's in this document, which is the Rapid Ready document, which was approved by Council. So I guess it's the word priority that seems to be the stumbling block, because originally, when we worked, the word priority originally referred to. In fact, I should hand the chair over to Councillor or Deputy.
I'll take the chair, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. So, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. The original priority was LRT over BRT, bus rapid transit. That's what we engaged with when we said, what would we really like? And we said we would really like the LRT over the BRT. To me, that was where priority came in. So I'm confused now, Mr. Deputy Mayor, because this document says that the first key contributor to becoming rapid ready is to invest in improving transit services and reconfigure the transit network in anticipation of rapid transit. And in this case, put the L back in, because that's our priority. These early investments would increase ridership, elevate the role of public transit in Hamilton, and prepare customers for rapid transit implementation. So, if the priority, if what you mean by priority, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, is that upon the approval of the funding, that we immediately start building the B-line rapid transit line, LRT line, I just need a motion from Council to do that, because what I have presented is, and Bruce McQuaig and I met several times, I met with him this morning, and it's this document that he refers to, which we approved, and the document does not say the creation of the light rail transit line upon funding approval. It doesn't say that. In fact, on page 25, it says, just to be clear, because I'm puzzled by this, the use of the word priority in terms of this document. It says, just building rapid transit alone will not get Hamilton where it needs to be. Cities that have or are moving towards rapid transit are also making significant increases in base transit service levels in advance of rapid transit. It would not be productive for Hamilton to build light rail while maintaining 30-minute headways on regular transit routes serving LRT. And what that means is how long you have to wait for the bus that takes you down to the LRT and therefore makes the service function better. And it says here, it's on page 25 of the document that we approved unanimously, several Canadian cities have higher per capita ridership without rapid transit, demonstrating an opportunity to increase ridership in the interim prior to LRT implementation in Hamilton. So if you wish me to present to the Minister and to the Premier that once the funding is approved, that construction of the B-line LRT begin, I'll be happy to. But that's not what I've had to this point. So, Mr. Deputy Mayor, that's my response to the Council.
Thank you, Councillor McCaddy. You still have the floor.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, thanks, Mr. Mayor, for your response. I guess if I can maybe then, given those comments, I wonder if I can go back to item A in this particular motion. And it reads that Council's February 27, 2013 decision requesting 100% provincial capital funding from the province of Ontario for a B-line LRT on King Street be reaffirmed. I wonder if, I guess maybe a two-part question through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to the Mayor. Does that provide you with the clarity that I think that was meant by our discussions in February as a council, and of course the work over the previous 3 years on the LRT 30% design and on King Street? Does that provide you with the clarity you need to represent that position, or can you suggest some other wording that might be clearer through Mr. Deputy Mayor to the Mayor?
If I may, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Yeah. The discussion over 100% funding is no longer necessary because the province wants to implement a funding strategy which will pay for all of the Metrolinx wave of projects. So the issue before us is, do we sign on to the Metrolinx funding strategy when it comes forward? And so we're waiting now for Mr. Zegarac to come forward and tell us what the implications are. And as far as today, when we talked about 100% funding, it sort of sounded like it was going to come from maybe the province and the feds, and we aren't signing, like there's no property tax portion. But what we will, Mr. Deputy Mayor, in fact, have to provide with the province is the agreement that we will participate in the funding strategy. And that the implications of that are such that it could be, from the average householder in the city of Hamilton, somewhere in $860 per household to put into the strategy fund from which the 100% will come back. So the argument over 100% is really not appropriate anymore, because if we're in and we want to go ahead and we sign on to the Metrolinx funding strategy, we will get it all paid for. But for 17 years, our average householder will be paying something over $800 a month for the duration. So that's the issue that's now before council, is to hear the information, Mr. Deputy Mayor, through to the councillor. Hear what the impacts are. Sit around here and say, are we in or not? And it's got nothing to do anymore with B-lines or what the mayor says to the premier. It doesn't. It's in council's hands. But if you want me to say something different than what's in this document, you have to get a council resolution to say, upon the funding strategy being agreed upon, the B-line LRT will immediately start construction.
So, Mr. Mayor, maybe just one more question on this then. So let's just say that you're speaking to Premier Wynne or perhaps Minister Murray or other folks at the province or Metrolinx, and they ask, you know what, we've got some money for Hamilton, $800 million. Mr. Mayor, what's council's position on where that money should go specifically, rather than just $800 million to transit in Hamilton? I'm just trying to get a sense of what you would say to that, given the position we've got here in item A, which speaks to the B-line LRT on King Street. Would you say perhaps the A line, or would you say GO train service to Centennial Parkway? Or with this motion that we've got here in item A, do you feel comfortable saying council's reaffirm the position of a B-line LRT on King Street? Just trying to get a sense, Mr. Deputy Mayor, of how you would respond to that question. Or again, and I think I heard it a moment ago, I'll have to get the wording from you, whether you need that changed, item A, to be clear. I think you said something about, Mr. Deputy Mayor, about upon receiving the funding, the B-line will be constructed, something along those lines. I just trying to clarify that position, Mr. Deputy Mayor, through to Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So once again, this document builds transit ridership to the point where LRT now kicks in. It says it over and over again. Don Hall said it in his Silhouette newspaper on October 25th, 2011. Bruce McQuaig said it on a Cable 14 show that I have. Without prompting for me, he was just discussing this document, and he talked about just what I just said. You build a ridership, then you put the LRT in. If it's council's position that the B line is now changing the priority from BRT to we're going to begin the construction of it, because the other thing that has been mentioned by staff is that it could be 10 to 15 years before those numbers get in place, because this document shows, for instance, these are Canadian cities. These ones are Canadian cities with transit. Calgary has ridership versus service hours per capita, 88 riders per service hour per capita, and Calgary's the lowest of all the rapid transit and light rail transit. Hamilton is at 44. So Hamilton's ridership is half of what Calgary's is. And so what this document says is you build that, then you put the tracks in the ground. That's what it says.
Okay, so I'll just finish up, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Last sentence or two. I'll take that as a no. That the mayor of Hamilton will not support the B line LRT position on King Street to the province.
No, I'm sorry.
That's unfortunate.
I can't accept that.
I'll come back to you, Mr. Mayor.
But I asked a very clear question several different ways, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and I'm perhaps a bit frustrated that I didn't get a clear answer whether this position will be supported by the mayor of the province. I heard a number of things. I didn't hear that this position would be supported if we pass this motion in a couple of moments tonight. Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I absolutely 100% support the B line LRT as directed by council, as directed through this document. The word priority is not in this document. So if you want to add the word priority, get a motion from council and explain what priority means. And if priority means we go to the B line as soon as the money becomes, as soon as the funding strategy is. I don't have that direction, Councillor. But if you're asking me if I support, and when I speak to governments, all I say to them is, here is our thing, and it's got a B line LRT, and that's the one that we have said is going first. And that's it. So the answer was not no, Councillor. You have to tell me what you mean by priority and get council direction if it's different from this. So has anything, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, has anything I said changed anything that's in this document?
Okay, I have a speaker's list. If you like, Mr. Mayor, do you want me to keep the chair through this debate?
Sure, please keep the chair.
I have a speaker's list of Councillor Clark and Councillor Collins, Councillor Marula, Councillor Whitehead. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and I thank Councillor McCaddy for bringing forth the motion for us to discuss this to try and clarify a few things. I'd like to caution my colleagues to really pay attention to what's in that document that we voted unanimously to send to Metrolinx. I know we've also indicated that our dream position, you know, they will build it and they will come, is the LRT. And we've also stated that the province will pay for it 100%. Those are all givens. But when I've read that document cover to cover, that document we have given great latitude to the province of Ontario and Metrolinx. And I understand that because I've been in those shoes at the other end trying to figure out how they're going to pay for everything. I am very nervous about now taking out a start position that it's LRT or nothing. I'm afraid we need to be very clear in our language that we put forth to the province, because it's their call and it's not our call. And if we get into a position where we're pushing for LRT at 100% funding, and they're supposed to be paying for it, which I want to speak to in another second, it could put the entire project and all that money that we put into that document into a precarious situation. And they may just say, no, they're not ready. They have that right. I know people don't want to hear that, but I've seen it and experienced it with governments before where decisions have made, and they'll say they have to make the tough decisions. They'll say Hazel McCallion is ready. They'll say these other municipalities are ready, and you're not there yet. I have grave concerns pushing the 100% envelope now when Premier Wynne has indicated that she's not paying 100%. Made it very clear in 3 different meetings that she was present at. She made it clear to municipalities and trade sectors that the municipalities will be paying, but there's going to be mechanisms for that. She's made it clear that each municipality will be paying for their transit line, whatever it is. So if we choose LRT, if that's what comes to be, or rapid transit comes to be, and then in 10 years you have LRT, whatever the prognostication that comes true here, the citizens in Hamilton will be paying for it. The province will pay their portion, but the larger portion comes back to the city. And they are talking about increases in provincial sales tax only in Hamilton. They are talking about gas tax increases only in Hamilton. So when you leave Hamilton and go to another municipality, it would be a different tax. They're talking about unilateral increases on property taxes only in Hamilton. So all of that is out there. And if we continue to go down the road and say, yep, we're going to do it, but it's going to be 100% funding, no impact to us, then they will come up with the ways and means to pay for it, and they have the legal right in law to actually set up the taxes to force it upon any municipality they want. We have no control over that either. My preference, personally, would be that we not argue over back and forth when people make musings in the public about anything, because the only thing that counts out of this place is the resolution that was passed by this council. It's the only thing that counts. Greatest respect, Mr. Mayor, and it might hurt your feelings, doesn't matter what you say to the Premier one-on-one.
I understand.
Doesn't matter at all. Because the only thing that government can deal with is a resolution of this council. That's the only thing that counts. They may know that he doesn't like it. He wants to go in another direction. Doesn't matter, because it's the resolution of the council that counts. Go back and talk to previous mayors like Mel Lastman and about how that can bite them on the tail. This council has made a decision. We submitted that document. We're waiting for a response back from the province. We're waiting for something in writing to clarify exactly what our financial costs would be under this proposal. And we're waiting to understand how they're proposing to implement this. Is it a phased-in process? Is it going to be done quickly? Is it going to take 10 years, 15 years? I don't know. I am loath to now throw up another document into the air and cause confusion with decision makers when at the present time there's no confusion at Queen's Park about the position of Hamilton. That's the way it is. I'm sorry if I disagree with some folks and some people in the community out there are saying that the mayor has lost his mind and a few other things, that he shouldn't be saying these things. As I indicated, it's the resolution of this council that counts, nothing else. Doesn't matter. It could be a complete pain in our butt and we get phone calls because you've mused these things. You get phone calls because I muse things. It happens. Get over it. That's what it is. But as long as this council doesn't change its position, this document is not necessary. Our position's already been filed. We're waiting for a response. And I surely wouldn't want to have the Premier be confused with another position coming out, and they turn around and say, we're okay with whatever, because we're saying 100% funding. Oh, see, Hamilton's okay with them, the province, taxing us whatever they want on transit. Because I haven't talked about that with my community. I don't even know what they're really talking about with the fine. I know the proposed $800 and some odd, but I have no idea what their final proposal is going to be. Mr. Zagaric has not given me any financial assessment on it. I do not know what the impact would be on the economy. I do not know what the impact would be on jobs. I do not know anything about these proposed taxes that Kathleen Wynne has mused about, incidentally, and her cabinet haven't voted on. So let's be calm, stick with what we've done. Let's see what comes out of them in writing, and then we can respond accordingly. Let's not get too far out because some people in the community are agitated that we're not sticking to our guns. Stuck to our guns right to the point where we should be. Now let's get a response from the government before we go any further. That would be my preference. And we need it in writing. Not just, with the greatest respect to the Premier, she can go to the meetings at the Trade Council and say whatever she wants. It's still musings. She's throwing up balloons in the air to see whether or not anyone's going to shoot them down. And if all the municipalities keep saying, no, we're all still on side, then those taxes are going to come true. Wait and see what she actually has in writing, and then we can respond firmly and unanimously, I would suspect, given the past pattern of this council. Thank you.
We have Councillor Collins.
Very briefly, I guess I was shocked as anyone to see that this is back in front of us, but I understand why it's here. I'm trying to understand, and I certainly take into, with the greatest of respect, I understand the comments that have been made by everyone around the table. And the concern that I would have is that mixed messages coming out of this building, especially regarding the most important issues that face our community, can do nothing other than to derail, pardon the pun, some very important work that we're undertaking to try to move this city forward. And so I like others, I appreciate the Mayor's explanation tonight. I'm not certain that I understand it, but I appreciate the fact that he's provided that to us. And I'm like Councillor Clark. It's I guess the message is it's a waiting game from Toronto. We're waiting to understand certainly what the cost will be to the municipality, and I've tried to follow these numbers as close as possible to the numbers as they've been changing over the years. And when I reference the numbers, it's not just the capital costs, it's the operating costs, it's the magic number that the province says is going to be the city's contribution for one or both of those sides of the ledger. But I think we've learned, we should learn from our mistakes, and I would point to the stadium debate to illustrate the fact that when we're constantly responding to comments that are trying to sway public opinion, and I understand the environment that we work in, and I understand the fact that around this table we're going to have different opinions from time to time, but when those opinions start to, I guess, jeopardize, some might say, projects, funding, resources from other levels of government, I think it's appropriate that we deal with these issues in a very open way as is happening tonight. So one of the concerns that I have from earlier, and through you, Mr. Chairman, would be maybe the Mayor could elaborate. I thought I heard you say that we were looking at a cost of anywhere in the range of $800 per month per house for the initiative that we've prospectively endorsed. And that's a new number for me. I was going to ask finance staff where that number's come from. Is that a number that's been part of this equation? If it's been reported in the media, I apologize, I haven't read that. Or if it's come from Metrolinx, again, I'm maybe not as close to the issue as you are with your discussions with the provincial government, but $800 per month per house for any project that we undertake is a lot of money. And I would hate, again, with that mixed messaging, looking back to the stadium, I would hate for that to cause us more problems. And really, I think our goal and objective is to try to solve problems here and not create them. So my first question would be, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the Mayor, where the $800 comes from, and then my second question would be to finance staff in terms of what number are we looking at currently, or are we still in, as was referenced earlier, sort of a fact-finding mode where we're trying to determine what the cost is to the municipality and then by extension per house. Through you, Mr. Chairman.
So thank you, and so I think all of us should be curious as to how this funding is going to work, and so I've been trying to figure out a way to capture that amount, but in the panel at the Civic Action event, Mr. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Min Wong was representing the Toronto mayor, and there were 2 or 3 other mayors on the panel, and Mr. Min Wong stepped up and said, it's going to cost us $860 a household through this financing plan per year for 17 years of the duration of the plan. So I went up right after the meeting and said, where did you get that number? And he, Mr. Deputy Mayor, said, I got it from staff. The next day or two, and I can forward you the email, I thought I did actually, but there was an article in the Toronto Sun, and it was Joe Panichetti, the city manager, who presented that number as the number that they have crunched based on their review of the funding tools, that it seems is going to be somewhere in that area. So the other one that I thought of was the health premium. And the health premium is $900 a year, whether it goes to health or not. And it raised $3 billion. It does raise $3 billion a year. So it sounds like that number is somewhere in the right orbit. But that number, and I forwarded the information to Mr. Zagarek, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and asked him to review it and see if that's a number that's useful for us. So that's my answer as to where the $860 came from. It was published in the Toronto Sun.
So that is a Toronto number. That might not necessarily be Hamilton's number.
I don't know. That's the only number that I've been able to get so far, but I did give it to staff to review it and see whether it would be useful for us.
Through you then, Mr. Chairman, can I ask to staff, are we any closer to understanding what the yearly number might be for its impact on Hamilton taxpayers? Whether it's $800 or another figure, I'll take whatever information they have at this point in time.
Mr. Zagarek?
For you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, with respect to the financing strategy and how it might impact participating municipalities, I can't share with Council as to what the local impact would be, as I don't have any details as to the staging of the next wave as it relates to the big move, as well as the collection of funding that's required to fund the next wave of the big move. I believe the reference to the $860 is simply looking at the annual funding requirement of $2 billion in the GTHA, and if you were to distribute that cost equally across all the households within that region, what the average cost would be. But again, that is just a...
That's in the absence, to be clear, that's in the absence of a financing strategy coming forward to cover some or all of those funds through whatever means government has at their fingertips.
Yeah. Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, that is in the absence of an understanding as to what the staging of the investment would be and the timing of the collection of the revenues across all the participating municipalities.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. And see that it is confusing because, to use those numbers without putting them into context, it can cause certainly some people to form an opinion. And, I think if you were to say to me that it was going to be $800 per month per house, and I was sitting at home listening to this debate, I certainly know what my position would be on a project like this. For some, financing certainly is an issue, but for others, the taxes collected by whether it's the municipal, provincial, federal government are the issue for them. And so we need to be very careful, Mr. Chairman, in terms of what information we're providing to the public as it relates to this project and others. And I'm going to support what's in front of us here tonight. I think it's an important step forward to ensure that the citizens know that we haven't changed our mind, similar to what happened with the stadium issue. Where our position changed almost every other week or every other month based on what somebody was saying in the media because they had an idea and had access to the province. And There were plans being made in other places other than this building here. And so the last thing I want to do is end up in the same kind of situation. And so I'm going to support what's here tonight. I appreciate the information that was provided by the mayor and staff. And I also thank Councillor McCaddy for showing leadership here this evening and over the last couple of weeks, especially, well, even further on LRT, but for bringing this forward for the reasons that he enunciated earlier. So thank you.
Councillor Marula.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. And I just need to understand why we're even having this discussion. My understanding is that this all started because the Hamilton Spectator reported that we, as a city council and a city, had an ultimatum between choosing GO Transit, all-day GO Transit, and LRT. We were then told by our mayor that the Hamilton Spectator created fiction, and the Hamilton Spectator responded by saying they didn't. In all the years that I've dealt with them, I can honestly say, and I've had some significant battles with the Hamilton Spectator in my time, I've never been misquoted. So my question through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to Mr. Mayor, are you stating that the Hamilton Spectator fabricated a story?
The story is inaccurate, Councillor, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, but I would ask Councillor in my response to you. Councillor McCaddy, did you say that I was willfully stupid, which was quoted in the Spectator?
I don't think you had a question asked directly to you, Mr. Mayor.
No,
Councillor Marula has the floor.
He's asked me for the accuracy of the story.
I can come back to you later if you want as a speaker, where you can ask any question you want to. But right now, Councillor Marula has placed a question to you. Is a story in the Hamilton Spectator that the word used was fabricated?
Yeah. Is it fabricated or not? From your perspective, did you or did you not say what they claimed? The Hamilton Spectator quoted you as saying. That's all I need to know.
The story is inaccurate. Councillor McCaddy, did you say that I was willfully stupid? That was quoted in the paper.
Councillor McCaddy, don't answer that question until the mayor has the floor, and then I'll have him.
Is it fabricated or it's not? I don't
the story is inaccurate.
This whole thing is a distraction.
I don't know.
I think you got an answer, Councillor Marula. He says it was inaccurate.
It's inaccurate, so it's fiction. So
that's how I would interpret that. Yes.
Yeah. So see, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, that is a very serious allegation. You know, you're in broadcasting. So to call somebody a liar.
Didn't do it.
Okay, Councillor Marula, you have the floor.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I'm hearing that he didn't call them a liar, but he is calling them a liar. I know he has various positions and duplicity on positions, but they either are accurate or they're not accurate. I know for a fact that if I were the Hamilton Spectator, whether they're a corporate entity, which they are, or as an individual, if someone calls me a liar, I can assure you that I would come out swinging. So I'm surprised they haven't come out swinging. I think they've treated you with kid gloves to now based on that particular issue, only because the media relies on their truthfulness, on their, you know this, on the accuracy. Everything that their existence depends on is the fact that what they report is accurate. So I'm asking the mayor of the city, are you calling them, the Hamilton Spectator, the corporate entity who is the voice of this community since, I don't know, 1867 or whatever it was, liars?
No.
To you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to Mr. Mayor.
No.
Which then begs the question, did you lie?
No.
Then someone's lying, and so...
Well, I'm not sure we need to drill down anymore on this. You heard him say that the story was inaccurate.
I'll leave it at that, but we still don't have any clarity. We've wasted a lot of time on this issue, because we know what our position is, and the only reason why we're here is because of that very issue. So all I'm asking for is either an apology, a retraction, an understanding, because at this point, you can't have the Spectator lying and the mayor lying all at the same time. One or the other is correct, and I'm baffled by this whole thing.
Well, I think the publisher of the Spectator,
all the community is asking for is honesty.
The publisher Spectator wrote a column on it the weekend, so I think we are where we are.
And that's the unfortunate component to all this, because I don't want to get distracted by who said what or what have you. I just want to know, okay, why are we even wasting our time with this? Because we know what our position is. The only reason why we're here is because you called the Hamilton Spectator liars. And that's basically the point of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And next speaker is Councillor Whitehead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Deputy Mayor, I guess Actually, there's a fundamental underlying issue for me that's more concerning, and it's unfortunate that we're here with this particular motion. By the way, I did support the B line, although in my heart of hearts, I think the A line is the right way to go. But having said that, that was the corporate decision, and that's the one that I've been articulating because it was a unanimous vote. I voted for it, and I stand behind that particular position. Never changed my mind on it. And I still will take that position because that was a unified position around this horseshoe. I guess what concerns me, and I guess the underlying issue for me is when we take a position, for example, on the downloading, and then on a Monday morning, I hear a voice that completely defends the province on the shortchanging of the city on the downloading, and that's the unanimous decision of this council, and it's not being represented. It concerns me. When I read a paper and it indicates that it's either LRT or Go Transit to Stony Creek, and then I'm hearing the Premier deny that the comment was ever made by them, but it's being attributed to the mayor, it concerns me. And I don't know what is true or what is false, but when you start lining up the ducks, there's a few of these incidents that have taken place. And that concerns me. So cumulatively, the underlying issue is, do we have faith that the corporation, the city council's position that we take is clearly being articulated or undermined? That's the real underlying issue, and that's why this is in front of us here today. That's the primary reason. And then, of course, now we're going to be judge and jury, and I'm not very comfortable doing that. I think that there's a message that could better be talked about with the mayor directly, if he was receptive to do that, but we haven't had too much reception with the mayor in the last 2 years. To be able to sit down with him and talk about the fact that we can't have mixed messages, and we can't feel like we're being undermined as a council. And that's always been my concern, is that we need to be a team. We have a great team around this horseshoe, and the mayor needs to be part of that team, and we welcome him to be part of that team, and yet that's certainly not been the experience around this table. And I think those are the underlying issues that need to be addressed, and the message to the mayor is, whether he's right or wrong on this, I'm not going to judge. It's not for me to judge, it's for you to reflect. And I'm hoping that we can build on this relationship, understand that whatever position this council takes, you have a fiduciary responsibility under the Municipal Act to reflect those positions to the province of Ontario.
Thank you, and I have 3 speakers left. And myself is next, and then Councillor Farr, and I think Mayor Bertina, you wanted an opportunity to go back on the list also. And so I'm going to hand the chair off to last month's Deputy Mayor, Councillor Johnson. And I just want to give an explanation as to why I agree to second this motion. If you look back through history, I think that the LRT is a defining project for our city. 60 years ago, history will show us that there was a similar debate on transportation across the province, tied into the same issues of congestion, when the province decided they wanted to build a fixed access highway or controlled access highway from Windsor to Montreal. Today, the 401 is the engine that drives the province. 40 years ago, right here in this council chambers, started the discussion about we need a ring road, subject of lots of debate, a lot of dissenting positions. But at the end of the day, it was built, and it's now the engine that's driving a lot of our economic development, particularly at the Red Hill Industrial Park. We've seen incredible growth there. And I think LRT is one of those issues that goes beyond the next election, or even the next election, and maybe even the next election. This is an issue where you got to be visionary, you got to look out there, you got to make a decision that could make a big difference in the future, similar to the 401 and similar to our ring road. But as I look back over the last few months, I think the stars have aligned, and we need to take advantage of this. I've heard the Premier, I was at an event a week ago Sunday, where she said she supports LRT in Hamilton. I heard her say, and I heard the Vice President of Metrolinx stand at that podium, and I point blank asked him the question, is the province going to pay 100% of the capital cost of this? And his answer was, and you can check the tape, that's our model. And I heard the Premier say the same thing, that this should not be done on the backs of the property taxpayer, particularly the residential taxpayer in any particular community. And so it can't be done on the backs of the residential taxpayer, because it's just one of those mega projects, the 2 examples I gave at the start of my talk. But we can't put the project at risk by putting out mixed messages, and that's what I'm hearing. And there's lots of competition, as Councillor McCaddy said, for this money. Mississauga's chomping at the bit, even though it's been described that we're ahead of them technically. We invested $10 million. Now, about 7 of that, Mr. Zagarek told me, was paid for by the province or other levels of government. There was some federal funding in that also. I reviewed this in detail with him yesterday. To do a 30% design of the B-line, because this council said B-lines are a choice. So we've done the 30% design, which is the minimum design you can do in order to be able to calculate the capital cost, and handed that off through a report to Metrolinx. But this is a motion just, again, to make it clear, because in my view, there are still mixed messages out there which will put the projects at risk. If I was sitting at the Metrolinx or the province and I heard mixed messages, I would say, until they get their crap in order, let's move on to another municipality who's united and are saying the exact same thing, whether it's staff, whether it's a mayor, or whether it's council, there's the same message coming out. It's a get-out-of-jail-free card for them when there's mixed messages coming out. And if the province is going to put in place a new tax structure, and that's their decision, not ours, this will be a province-wide, maybe, new tax, or could be specific to the Greater Toronto Hamilton area. So whether we get it or not, we're going to be paying. And we damn well deserve a look. And they won't look when we're sending mixed messages. And 3 examples of mixed messages that have occurred recently is, where the heck did $800 per person come from? There's no science to that. It's just a number that come out by some councillor for Toronto. Didn't come out of Mr. Zagarek's office, who is our financial CFO. I've heard, the mayor, you said to me privately, and you said it publicly, that your preferred route is the A-line. You've been very clear about that, even though council has been very clear, is B-line, and we invested $10 million to do a 30% design. We can't have that mixed message go out there. And then the latest, and you say that the story was inaccurate, but it's out there, that we have to make a choice between GO, extension, and light rail. That's a mixed message. I've never heard that before from anyone. And if the story was inaccurate, then the story was inaccurate. But I think you needed to come out more definitively the minute that story hit and say, that's inaccurate. And get a hold of the publisher of the Spectator, which is the routine, if you think they're wrong, and have them print a retraction. Or, make a correction.
Your microphone.
I read the publisher of the Hamilton Spectator wrote a column saying, we stand behind our story and we stand behind our reporter. So they must have either a recording or the tape or notes, whatever they used in order to substantiate their story. So I just think we need this motion right now to make it crystal clear. B-line, 100% funding, and clear message. Because if they're going to put a new tax in place for the Greater Toronto Hamilton area, we darn well better be part of it. You hear the $800 per person for Toronto. They're spending billions in Toronto on transit. We're asking for $800 million. Now, if we hear a number like $800, as Councillor Collins says, that whipsaws back to us in a formal way, and our CFO says, yep, that's a number. We may want to think about this a little more. I agree. That's a stunning number. And I'm uncomfortable with that. But they figured out how to build the 401. We figured out how to build the Red Elk Creek Expressway. This is a defining project. Let's not screw it up by putting out mixed messages. And with that, I'll take the chair back.
You've got it. No other speakers except
and move
Councillor
it over
Clark.
now to.
Councillor Clark,
I have
our
other
secretary.
speakers now. Yes, I have Councillor Farr is up next.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I've been listening closely tonight, and I appreciate the motion. Of course, be supporting the motion before us. It's a reaffirmation motion, I guess, before us tonight. I'll be listening closely in a few weeks as Mr. Zagarek delivers his analysis, along with his finance staff's analysis of this funding toolbox that we've been hearing a lot about lately from the Premier's office, and I'm appreciating, I guess, hearing about it. At least she's quite vocal and clearly quite supportive of fixing what needs to be fixed with respect to GTHA transportation. I had an opportunity to actually have a decent conversation with the Transportation Minister at a Transit Futures Symposium a couple of weeks ago, and I just sat in confirmation of all the things we've done and all the work that we've done in the past, as he talked about building communities and more than just talk about gridlock, but talk about, how LRT, how you can really fix gridlock by creating live-work communities. And I think when you look at our council-approved nodes and corridor study as it relates to this B-line, if you look at the costs of not doing LRT and all of those things, it's clear that even the transportation minister sees it and sees what we've been working on for some time. And when it comes to this toolbox funding, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I think at this point, if there's going to be a GTH pool, we want to jump in first. And if we're going to be paying for these transit priorities throughout this GTHA, let's get at it with our priority, that is the LRT. So we know the value, and we know what it'll achieve here in Hamilton. And with respect to some of the items mentioned tonight, with the Rapid Ready report, which is a vast report, which is an extremely important report, which is obviously why it was unanimously approved by this body not long ago, I'm not too concerned. I know that we can, as we lay the track, do those things that will make this investment important and make this investment a reality. We are going to invest, we are going to improve, we are going to reconfigure in anticipation of our priority, which is LRT. And in short, we're going to get rapid ready as we build the thing and pay for the thing, along with, if the toolbox goes the way I see it going, everyone else in the GTHA, and quite possibly, as the previous speaker mentioned, the provinces we've heard Premier Wynne and others talk about. So I think we're on our way, even with the Rapid Ready report. When you look at things like our bikes that we approved, our dedicated bus lanes, that's us already getting to work on being rapid ready, LRT ready. So with that, I just wanted to do a amendment. I'm not certain if I would call it a friendly amendment, but on the resolved Part A, that Council's February 27th, 2013 decision requesting 100% provincial capital funding from the Province of Ontario for a B-line LRT on King Street, and I would insert priority project there, be reaffirmed. The words priority project after King Street is all I'm asking as an amendment, and I would move that and get a seconder in Councillor Marula.
Okay, so we have to focus on the amendment now. And so can you just once again read back exactly what the amendment says?
How it will sound with the amendment, which is the words priority project after King Street. So in item A of what we have before us, the Council's February 27th, 2013 decision requesting 100% provincial capital funding from the Province of Ontario for a B-line LRT on King Street priority project be reaffirmed.
Okay, you're adding the word priority project then, are you?
I'm adding that.
Okay, and to the amendment now, Councillor.
Seconded by Councillor Marula.
Councillor Caddy, Councillor Clark on the amendment.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I think that's a helpful amendment, and it was brought to mind by me during Councillor Clark's comments a couple moments ago, when he made the point that he didn't want the province to only see the B line as the only thing we wanted. If they were to give us something else, we would say no, which is certainly not where you want to be. You've got the priority project, and that's the point we're making tonight with this motion, and I accept that amendment. Certainly vote on it in a moment, I guess. As the priority project, it's really important that you, and the intent tonight is that the province knows for sure what our priority is, the priority project. There's a lot of other things in that Rapid Ready report, which are also things we're interested in, but it's important to have the the plan A, the priority project clearly spelled out, and that's what this motion does. If they want to fund other things, that is their decision, but our request, and we want to make it very clear for them so they're not confused, the priority project is the B line on King Street. So I think that this amendment is helpful in the sense that it provides the province with that clarity, And also, it respects the Rapid Ready report, which the mayor has spoken to, and Councillor Clark spoke to that off the top as well.
Okay, and to the amendment, Councillor Clark.
I understand the intent. I can't support it. The document that the mayor has, that this council has already voted on it, provides the province all of the directions in terms of what this council wants. It's clear. I would go so far as to argue that the amendment may be contrary to the substance of that report, because that report does not go into details in terms of which priorities, 1, 2, 3, or anything. It doesn't deal with priority. So since it's not there, it would be a 2/3 vote to overturn previous decision in order to now set our priorities in LRT. We are jumping through hoops because of some inane comment from the leader of the group that has not been just clearly stated. I misspoke. And we're now jumping through hoops to say to everyone, well, we haven't changed our position. I haven't changed my bloody position. Councillor McCaddy hasn't changed his position. No one around this table has changed the position. The resolution stands. It's the resolution of this council. It's that book. In 2 weeks, we find out what's going on the financial side. Why are we needing to jump through hoops to reaffirm something? Because there was some confusion between what the mayor of the city said and what the paper reported. I don't really care what the paper reports. I honestly don't. I care what I say and what this resolution says to the government of Ontario. And absolutely nothing has changed from when we passed that motion. Nothing. And you were jumping through hoops to prove ourselves and our intent to some people in the community who saying, whoa, there's a big conspiracy here because you're playing games behind the doors. Mr. Mayor, you have to explain yourself. I'm not going to explain you and your comments. But my position, my colleagues on this side of the table, I know very clearly nothing has changed. And I don't think anything's changed on the other side. Why are we doing this? Why are we opening up doors that may or may not start triggering things that we had no intention of triggering? What we need to know is that report from Mr. Zagaric, and then we get on with the plan. It's very simple. I'm tired of jumping through hoops to respond to misstatements, misquotes, misunderstandings from someone else on the council. I don't do it. Ask the media. They call me, I don't respond to them. Not interested. I didn't make the statement. If you want to know what I think, I'll tell you what I think. But I'm not going to talk about what someone else said. This council made its decision. We stand by that decision. It's over. Please be very careful what you're doing here. That amendment may change complete substance of that report that we provided, and I looked at that report on the weekend. I had nothing else to do. And I can tell you, that is a very complete, comprehensive report that unequivocally makes it clear to the province of Ontario the intentions of this council that we all supported. Nothing's changed.
Okay, we have no more speakers to the amendment then. Oh, Councillor Whitehead. No, you're on the main motion. Do you want to speak to the amendments?
Well, the amendment, I want to be absolutely clear because I read that report as thoroughly, and it's amazing how we can get maybe slightly different interpretations out of a report. So I'm going to ask staff, is this motion inconsistent?
I think you're going back to the main motion, though, Councillor, not dealing specifically with injecting one.
Okay, I'll address that then. Sure.
Okay, thank you. I have Councillor Johnson who wants to speak specifically to this.
Yeah, thank you. And through you, Deputy Mayor, to either Chris Murray or Jerry Davis. The amendment that is being proposed in front of us, priority project, does that conflict with the Rapid Ready report that we unanimously agreed to?
I'll start with that with the city manager, or
okay, I'll do it again.
You could assign it, Chris, to anybody you want to answer that question, but as the deputy mayor, will deflect it to you first.
You know what? Because the clerk was up there chatting with him, can I reword this for you? Thank you. We have an amendment in front of us right now that says priority project, being the B line. Is that in contradiction of the Rapid Ready study that we sent, that report that we sent to the province? Is that in any way contradicting that report that we unanimously agreed to?
Chris?
If I can to you, Mr. Mayor. I think the point that's been made, and if I can just indulge me just a little bit here to a bit of context, and I'll get right specifically to your question. The reason why we wrote that report, first of all, we've been focused on the B line for some time, many years in fact, investing heavily into the design of it with the understanding that we'd be moving ahead with that project subject to the province agreeing to the funding as per the comments made earlier, 100% funding. So that's been where we've been focused. Certainly from a staff perspective and from the direction that I think we got back in 2011, in the fall of 2011, one of the things that struck us was that it certainly, if the province chose to defer the building of the B line, there were other matters that we believe needed to be addressed here in Hamilton. No question in our mind. We were worried that it was going to be potentially an all or nothing situation. So we requested and received direction from you to go away and come back with a report, which is what we've done. What we've given you is a report that has a wide range of transit investments that we believe should be made in Hamilton at the end of the day. There isn't anything there that we would say is unimportant. So in terms of where we've been all along, we've been focused all along on the B line and advancing the detail of that B line so the province can make a decision on the B line. Okay? But clearly Rapid Ready has added to that a number of other investments that should the province choose to defer the B line to some later date, we are still there with our hand in the air saying, wait a minute, there are other things you should be investing here in Hamilton.
Okay.
That is it.
Okay.
So that's the sum total motivation for the report and all of its options. And so to clarify at this point that you want to make clear if there's any uncertainty around the priority of the B line, you are saying that the B line continues to be our focus. You are saying, I think by this motion, that you want the province to make a decision on the B line first, and that subject to that, if they choose to advance the B line, then by all means do that. If you choose for whatever reason, province, to defer the B line to some other, we are still there with our hand in the air saying, do not pass us by. There are a bunch of other investments that we believe you should be making here. That's, in essence, the motivation behind the report, and that's what we think that report does for you. It puts the ball certainly in the province's court to make a decision. We've done our homework. We are ahead of everyone else. You know, we think investing in transit, LRT specifically in the city of Hamilton, is something fundamental to our growth, and that, you know, it's really at the end of the day up to the province to make a decision about what it is it wants to invest here in Hamilton. But clearly we have been focused on the B line, and by you saying tonight that you wish that they make the first decision on the B line investment, and if they choose to whatever reason defer it, then we're saying we're still there wanting to see the other investments made as well.
Okay, thank you. Through you to Chris then, if we pass this amended motion right now in front of us, does that now take our Rapid Ready study and push it to the end? Or would you like to see something else amended in here? As we've got priority project, why are we putting, can we add the amendment that priority project, however, we still unanimously support the Rapid Ready study? Jerry?
So, through the Deputy Mayor, Mary gave me the report. So it explains that the report be submitted.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Jerry.
It explained the Rapid Ready report be submitted. A1, AI, 100% capital and any upset net operating levy impact for light rail transit. So what Chris has said is, we're there with the province. What you're saying is the B line, the first one. What the Rapid Ready report said is any light rail transit, we want 100% capital and any upset net operating. So that was the recommendation that we sent to the province.
Okay, so through you to Jerry, through Deputy Mayor to Jerry. So this amendment, the priority project, does that contradict what we've already asked in the first place? Or is it, maybe my question to you, Jerry, should be, if we pass this amendment right now, does that contradict the Rapid Ready study, or does it enforce it?
By adding the word priority
Project.
does that change the tone of the original report? I don't know, has Chris, you or
Sure.
Jerry?
I'm fine to answer that because I know I've been working with Don and others on this, and as has Jerry. I mean, I think it clarifies it. I think that's what it does at the end. I don't think it negates it. I think everything that is in that report still is in that report. It simply says that, I think what council is saying here, and again, we've spent millions on the B line. The B line is consistent with our planning. We've invested heavily in the land uses related to this transportation investment. So I don't think, turning our back on it is, and I'm not suggesting for a second anyone here is even implying that, but that's where we've been focused. All that we've done is by you, maybe I'll phrase it this way, by you saying that it's a priority, that province needs to make a decision on the B line first, as we've been working together on it. And then what we're saying is that the balance of that report, that's the Rapid Ready report, must then also be given consideration if in the event they choose to defer the B line investment in the short run.
I think I heard you say you're okay with it.
Hang on.
You know what, I'm starting to sound more and more like, I won't say.
So the answer is yes?
Yeah, in essence, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, and this is on the amended motion. If we are going to put in priority project in there, I would feel a lot better with, and also the Rapid Ready study as well. So we still confirm that our B line is our intention, but the Rapid Ready study is also our backup plan, or it's part of the backup plan. So thank you for that.
Okay. Councillor Duval, just to the amendment.
The amendment?
To the amendment only, just adding the word priority.
Okay. To the amendment, I won't agree to the amendment. I knew in February what I voted for. I don't know why we're here today over the last hour doing something that was in the media. Somebody went another direction and wanted to say something, but I know we have to. The public out there is now confused. So if we're here to reaffirm it, what we're doing that we did on February, I'm gladly supporting it.
Okay.
Because it's...
I think you're speaking to the main motion though, aren't you?
No, on the amendment. So what I'm saying is I will support the motion, but not on the amendment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I have no other speakers on the amendment. So to the amendment?
Can I hear the amendment, please?
You want to reread your amendment again, Councillor Clark?
Would you like me to read, Councillor Clark, Part A in full, including the amendment?
I just want to hear your amendment.
I think it's inserted.
The amendment is the word priority followed by the word project.
So to clarify then, what Mr. Murray indicated, is that what we're doing? Overall project is still...
That's what I heard, yes.
Right, what we've been working on for years, as a priority project, we're putting the words priority project in Part A, Councillor.
And if they say no to the priority project, what happens? Because I don't see that.
Well, we have the Rapid Ready report.
It would be really helpful if I could just hear one person.
Yeah, we have the Rapid Ready report, and you've heard Chris's response.
And with the greatest of respect, is that referenced in your amendment that we go back to the Rapid Ready?
I think the focus is LRT here, in all due respect. The focus is our priority project. The focus is 100% funding of it, and the focus is just reiterating what we've already supported with respect to the B-Line LRT, a priority project, which is why, and I should note, Councillor, in answer to your question,
Councillor,
the amendment...
Through the chair, please.
Through you, sorry, Mr. Chairman. The amendment is in place based on the earlier discussion.
Councillor Clark, you have the floor.
Well, no, the amendment is not in place. The report is in place. And the report very clearly gives the province opportunities beyond what the first priority was, which was LRT. What we're now doing is passing a motion that says the LRT is the priority. And that gives the Minister of Transportation really good signals to say, okay, fine, we can't afford LRT and we can't afford it for 15 years. We'll spend our money elsewhere. Our report that we filed says something completely different than that. And this is a big mistake.
Okay, I think that point's been made, and I see no other speakers on this. So let's put the amendment to rest then. All in favor of the amendment? Who's opposed? Record show that Councillor Clark, Councillor Pearson, Councillor Johnson, Councillor Pasuda, Councillor Duval are opposed. And Mayor Bertina. I'm going to pose that question right now to the clerk. Do you want a standing recorded vote, Madam Clerk? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please rise.
No, the amendment.
At the amendment, the amended motion, the amendment to the motion.
Councillors Whitehead, Jackson, Collins, Marula, Morelli, Farr, McCaddy, Ferguson, and Partridge.
And those opposed?
Mayor Bertina, Councillors Duval, Clark, Pearson, Johnson, and Pasuda.
Madam Clerk?
That carries, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, we're back to the main motion. I'll go back to the original speakers list. Councillor Marula, do you want to be a second-time speaker?
On a separate issue.
No, I'll come back to you then as a second-time speaker. I have other speakers ahead of you. So on first-time speakers, I have Mayor Bertina.
For you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, some question was raised by yourself about where this $860 came from. So I've just forwarded it to all members of council. And Toronto City Manager wants sales tax, gas tax, and annual parking trans expansion. The city's top civil servant is recommending Toronto give Metrolinx the green light to pick from a group of taxes. City Manager Joe Panichetti's newly released report endorses 2 waves of potential revenues, including these various taxes. Mr. Panichetti says all taxes or user fees should be imposed equally across the greater GTHA area. There's no question about affordability and the difference between Hamilton and that. He wants it all over. And further, Mayor Ford says he is not in favor. I'm not supporting any of those revenue tools, he told reporters at City Hall. So the key part is the $860. And it's within the story, and it's broken down by their financial staff, who, for all I know, may include Rob Rossini.
Okay, so it's a media report, though.
It's a media, and you have it now on your BlackBerry. Secondly, to the comments made by the city manager, I'm going to quote from Don Hall, who wrote this this was quoted in the Silhouette on October 25th, 2012. If LRT were to be implemented down the road, Don Hall, Director of Transit of the city, said the system would likely replace some of the bus network we have near McMaster, most notably the B line. It would call for the restructuring of HSR service, but that is a long way off, 10 to 15 years. We're currently working on a fall report for council that would provide details of how LRT could be ultimately implemented. So if we're going to continue on with this motion as amended, we have to have a 2/3 vote to throw that out. And I've quoted it, I don't know if anybody's listening, but it says here over and over again, build the transit service to the point where we're ready for light rail. Okay? And finally, Mr. Deputy Mayor, through you to Councillor McCaddy, did you say that I was willfully stupid as you were quoted?
Councillor McCaddy?
Mr. Mayor, I had emailed you saying that I didn't think I said that. That's not my phraseology. And I checked with the reporter who wrote that, and they in fact had me on tapes as saying that. So indeed I did say that. Am I proud of saying it? No. Did I say it? Yes.
Well, okay. So, on the question of accuracy, and you did send me, and you didn't say you thought it, you said you didn't say it, but you thought you knew who did. So I apologize for that. But on accuracy, about a week before, there was a statement that the mayor flip-flopped on the police budget. The mayor, this is a journalistic statement, the mayor is quietly changing his position or whatever it is in the budget. But in the body of the story, it said clearly it was inadvertent, and I will correct that. So the story was not accurate. The headline was not accurate. Everything else, my quotes were. So from time to time, inaccuracies do occur And the Toronto Star had a beauty right in the front page. They apologized left, right, and center to a lady. And retractions and corrections occur in the Spectator as well. They have a page for that, and they hang their hat on accuracy. So to members of council, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, that statement was not made by me, and the reporter, Mr. Deputy Mayor, did not have her tape recorder. She did her shorthand, and I have no arguments with the reporter. She's a fine lady. She does excellent work. But the statement attributed to me was not made.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Thank you. Councillor Ball.
Can I ask, on the motion that now that's amended, can I ask, I guess to our clerks, do we need to take, would this supersede our original motion on February?
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, through you, I don't know enough about the report, but I would take it from the comments that the city manager said that it wouldn't, no, that would not be the case if it's not inconsistent.
So do we have to, I'll ask you this then to the clerks, do we have to have another vote on the February 25th meeting? Do we have to overturn that to put this in place?
Madam Clerk, I think I heard you say no, based on the city manager's comments, that it's in line with the original resolution.
Okay, so if that's the case, then I will be supporting this. This is what we said we're going to do. I'm waiting for the report to come back. I want to know what the money is.
Sure, I think we're all looking forward to that.
As Councillor Ferguson indicated, I was here, I was present when we asked Metrolinx. They said the 100% funding. I don't know where all this other stuff come from, and there's $860, and it could be from another issue. I don't know, but I think our residents are looking to find out if the funding is there, and if it's not there, the way these rumors have been coming forward, then we have to relook at the whole situation, and that's where we're coming from. So I'll be supporting this and waiting for an answer. Thank you.
I got you. For a second time. Okay, I'm finished with first-time speakers. We'll now start down the second-time speaker list. And I have Councillor Clark, Marula, McCaddy, and Whitehead. So Councillor Clark.
Thank you. First, I feel for the clerk because it's a little bit unfair for the clerk to provide advice to the council based on the volume of that particular report. Councillors themselves should have been fully apprised of that report, and they know what's in the report. So it is a substantive change. With the greatest respect to the city manager, it's a huge change. We've got all of those other options. What you're now saying is that LRT is going to be the priority. So with the greatest of respect to my colleagues, if they say no to LRT because they don't have the money for 15 years, what's going to happen to Hamilton's report, the rest of it, for 15 years? We submitted it to them, telling them what to do. What's going to happen to the report? We've given them the option. We've now said, no, LRT is our priority. So it does change. It does change very clearly. As a matter of fact, the overall, and I urged my colleagues at the beginning of this, stop, don't do this. Don't have these votes. Because where we had unanimity, you now don't have it. You now had a split vote on the first time on LRT going back to the province of Ontario. We had unanimity, had no one moved a motion, no one moved an amendment. That report we all supported. We had 100% unanimity. Now you've got it going down split. And it's quite possible that this amended motion is going to go down split. And so you're now going to be telling the minister and the premier that the city of Hamilton doesn't know what they want, because they're going to try and interpret what that vote means. What does it mean when 9 people vote one way and 7 vote the other? Does that mean the public is going against LRT? We got to be careful here, because LRT is a huge, huge piece of political capital for this premier. They're planning on running on Metrolinx's program for the next government. And if they're losing support in a city like Hamilton, and that's now what it looks like because it's split down the middle, and they'll interpret it any way they want. All we had to do is let it ride. You criticized the mayor, you admonished him for his comments, it was over. The position of the council stands. But no, you got to go further. You got to cause confusion instead of leaving it the way it was. So before you vote on this amended motion, think twice. Are you sending a clear message now like you want to? Or are you sending the muddiest message ever made in Hamilton?
Okay, Madam Clerk, you had a point you want to make?
Yes, Mr. Deputy Mayor, through you, I understand that, just to hopefully to clarify, that this was one of the priority projects listed in the report that was approved on February 27th. So if we, as a suggestion, would further amend the motion to say as one of the priority projects, then that would make it not inconsistent with what was approved in February.
Okay, I'm not sure we're clear on what you just said, Madam Clerk.
Just as a suggestion, Mr. Deputy Mayor, that a further amendment to the main motion, which you can do,
You just say
put
it's one of
another
our priorities?
motion to add as one of the in front of priority project.
Okay, the mover's not here.
Point of order.
The amendment was, but we're debating the main motion now. We're on the main motion now, which was moved by Councillor McCaddy. And Madam Clerk?
Yes, just to clarify, yes, you voted on the amendment to the main motion. You can further amend the motion again if you wish.
Yeah, somebody
to.
can put up, when we go around the table, can put up a second amendment if they like. Okay, so we're still on second-time speakers to the main motion, and Councillor Marula is next.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. What we have before us is really an unfortunate circumstance, and we still don't have an answer, so I'm going to ask one more time. We've been told by the mayor that the only reason why we're here today, we would not even be having this discussion if we weren't provided with a quote that was in the Hamilton Spectator that stated that the Premier of Ontario at a fundraiser stated to Mayor Bettina that we as a city had a choice between all-day Go and LRT. He claims it's inaccurate. I just need to know now. Now we know that it's inaccurate. That means somebody has fabricated the story. So I'm just wondering, are you saying that the Hamilton Spectator fabricated a story as a news story? Because
I think, Councillor, we've been down that road. I think he said that he was misquoted.
He said he was misquoted?
Correct.
Okay, which in essence then states that it's fabricated. Now,
just do we have a point of order? Do you mind if I'm going to go to the point of order now?
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll make sure there's point of order. Councillor Clark.
To be clear, Mr. Chairman, we're now dealing specifically with the motion. That line of questions has nothing to do with this motion anymore.
Yeah, thanks very much. I'm glad you're here tonight because you've been missing a lot of meetings. So on that front,
would you like the doctor's name of the hospital?
On that front,
let me just make a ruling. Let me make a ruling, and this is a chair, and you can always challenge my ruling. My ruling is that it is part of the main motion. It was part of the discussion that occurred during the discussion of the main motion. So I agree that Councillor Marula is in order to. Now, I don't want you to keep asking the same question over.
He's basically called the Hamilton Spectator. The mayor has. Okay, this is flabbergasting. He called the Hamilton Spectator liars. That's on record.
He didn't say that. He said he was misquoted.
Because they're telling otherwise. So one of them was lying, and I'm just telling you. Okay, so, and in saying that, just briefly, as we were all discussing, I saw the mayor beeline, left the chair, and basically aggressively pursued our city manager. I noticed that the tone, I didn't hear exactly what was said, but the tone was very aggressive. And one, I would say, of a bully. So through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to the mayor, what exactly did you threaten our city manager with when you approached him at the bench?
Mr. Chair, this individual is completely out of order. This has nothing to do with our discussion.
You're not in a position to ask.
And I'm not going to answer.
The question is really simple. I heard you yell at our city manager, and through you,
for the sake of openness and transparency, what did you bully the city manager over this evening?
Okay.
Obviously, he's not denying it, so he did it. So the bottom line is that that's the type of decorum that we're expecting. He left the chair to basically attack our city manager. I think that's totally inappropriate. And I want an investigation. I want to go in camera to determine exactly what was said, because I think at this point, this is something that we as a council, as a community, should be aware of. When we have a mayor leaving the chair to go threaten or bully our city manager, I think we need a full and open investigation to be transparent and open, to allow the city manager to at least acknowledge what was said, because I heard the tone, didn't hear the details. So we need to deal with this.
Okay, you can certainly ask for that when we have a motion to go in camera
I want a full
on
investigation. I
another
think
matter.
the integrity commissioner should be involved as well. Thank you very much.
Okay, and Councillor McCaddy.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and I can tell you I honestly brought this motion forward in an effort to clarify council's position to the province of Ontario so that they know exactly what we're after. And I was influenced, perhaps wrongly, by some early comments after my comments that we didn't want the province to say, you know, if we don't support the B line, then you don't get anything, Hamilton, because you've said that in my original motion that the funding would be for the B line LRT on King Street, be affirmed. So the addition of the amendment that Councillor Farr brought forward, that it be a priority project, was meant to address that point, that the province of Ontario would then know that this is our priority project, and that there are other things in that report that they can read and they can see that are also things we have an interest in. But it's, in my experience, it's always important to be clear exactly what you want, and then the province, of course, has the ability to say, we appreciate that's your priority or what you've been working on the last 3 years, and we've given you $10 million to do the design, but we, for whatever reason, don't want to fund that. We want to fund something else. They've always got that right to do that. They're the folks that are funding this work. So the intent of my motion was to clarify that the B line LRT was the focus of this city council. We've all read that report, most of us, and I spent a lot of time on it. It's a fantastic report, the Rapid Ready report, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and I'm having some difficulty speaking here because maybe I'll talk to you, Mr. Mayor, because you're paying attention to me, anyways, I guess I'm really wasting my breath here. My main point was that I didn't bring this motion forward to create the kind of kerfuffle that has occurred here over the last hour or so. It was just to clarify
as a suggestion, the clerk's come to me and said that the wording needs to be wordsmith, and I don't think we want to go to a split vote. I think it might be useful to refer this back to the clerk and the city manager.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I certainly don't support that. I met with the clerk, and I met with the legal department in putting this motion together. They made some recommendations for changes having to do with the procedural bylaw. You know, what can council direct the mayor to do, and in what way? They can direct the mayor to do this and this. They can't direct the mayor to do this, this, and this. So don't talk about those things. Be accurate. So I'm accurate to the procedural bylaw with my original wording. And I met with the clerk and I met with the chief solicitor. So the report is very clear, and the city manager has been very clear that the recommendation, the focus of council is on the B line. We spent how many years working on this, and why would we do that if it wasn't the focus? But given the recent comments and confusion in the media and elsewhere, and knowing that the province pays attention to what is printed in the media, the attempt was to clarify that the B line is our priority project. So to change the motion at this point to talk about one of the priorities or other things is fundamentally changing the motion. So I certainly can't support that. I'm not sure where you're going because I haven't heard any other wording. But I certainly can't support any changes to the motion as it's written, other than to make it clear that this is the priority project versus just the project, which leaves it open for the province to consider other options should they wish to do so. It actually improves the motion and provides Hamilton with the province with more options should they decide to pursue those options.
Okay.
So I'm just baffled at the discussion.
We can keep going. Council can do whatever it likes. My only suggestion is there seems to be some angst about whether or not this motion changed the rapid ready recommendation. And it may be helpful, and the clerk's on, wants to propose some more changes. It may be proper to refer it to the clerk and the city manager to wordsmith it so that it is linked to give everybody comfort, but I'll leave it. It's at the will of council, and I'll look for any future motions. So I have next speaker. We have Councillor Whitehead, then Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When we dealt the A and B line, I remember there was a real fanfare around this, the council, and the council unanimously supported the B line. This report was complementary to the priority for the B line. This report, this rapid report, is supplementary to the priority on the B line. So I'm trying to understand how people like to try and muddy the water when in fact there's no conflict here. If the province and Metrolinx do not like where we're at or do not think we're prepared or ready for the B line, we have now provided them options in the rapid transit report. There's no conflicts here. I don't know why people are creating conflicts. There's absolutely no conflicts by supporting and reaffirming a position we really took. And here's another point, Deputy Mayor. We would have had to have two-thirds vote to support the rapid report if it was in conflict with the original position of supporting the B line. So obviously everything links in well together. And I don't know why this game is being played. The reality is that we're consistent. The city manager clearly articulated that it's consistent with the original position of council. The city manager clearly indicated there's no conflict here relative to the rapid report. It's no different than when we created that list that the province came in and we created priorities and where we want the money spent. Now, remember what happened? The province sort of skipped over those priorities and chose their own projects to fund. It's not much different than that. So what we did with the rapid report is provided alternative options if in fact they say no to the B line. So I don't know why the confusion. All we're doing here is reaffirming a position that we took, and we would need two-thirds vote to support the rapid transit if in fact we didn't support the B line. So don't confuse the matter. This is just reaffirming a position this council always had. I support the original position, and there is no conflict, so let's not confuse this.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, thank you. And the reason I kept asking about the rapid ready document was because I don't see it anywhere in this motion. So if it was in this motion, then I would feel more comfortable if I can go back to the person who's moving it and ask if I could ask for an amendment to the priority projects as one of the priority projects as per the rapid ready document, because there's no mention of the rapid ready document in here, and that's what's muddying it for me. So to get my comfort out of this, and I still think it would achieve what you're going for, and that's one of the priority projects as per the rapid ready document. That's it. You're just asking them to revert back to exactly what we voted for, and I'm comfortable with that. So I'll leave it up to the mover, and if not, then come back to me, and I'd like to refer this back. All due respect, I'm seeing the clerk running around here trying to get all these things in motion. Do we need two-thirds? Don't we need two-thirds? And I'd feel better if it was all brought here and the process was brought out properly. So those are my comments. I would like to make that amendment. I'm asking my fellow colleague over here if he's okay with that. There's no mention of rapid ready document in this motion at all. I think it brings it into that motion, and then it's clear for me.
Okay, third time speaker, Councillor McCaddy.
Deputy Mayor, through you to Councillor Johnson, I think perhaps where we should go, given all the discussion, is that this should be referred to clerks for clarity. I'm still not sure myself why why it's not clear that it's the B line, but there seems to be some confusion or other opinions on that on council. I'm not sure. I mean, the key for me is to reaffirm our positions so the province is clear, right? That's the intention of this report, or this motion rather. But if there's some clarity, and I agree that it's hard to put clerks in this position to be running around and working with Chris and others. So I would certainly support referring this back to clerks and having it come back.
Okay, you have Councilor Mayor Pertina, then I'll come back to Councilor Johnson for the referral.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, my opinion is that this is a substantive change to this document. And if we are going to make a change, I would suggest that we forward the document to Metrolinx and ask them if this wording would give them cause for discomfort because it doesn't reflect what has been sent. I'm sorry, Mr. City Manager, I can't. I've got the floor, Councillor.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was just trying to talk to Councilor Johnson with the referral. Councilor Mayor Pertina, you have the floor.
The statement that we're in for the B line, but if it doesn't work, we've got some other options here. That, I don't see that in that document. And I've read that document over and over again, and I've quoted from it, and I told you what Don Hull said, maybe 10 to 15 years. So how that relates to, that's what we want first, but if in case not, then this. And I think that's a substantive change from what's in this document, and I think that it should be forwarded to Metrolinx with the proposed change.
Okay, so I'm going to turn to Councilor Johnson, who's going to move a referral motion that's referred back to the clerk's office for compliance with the original rapid transit report. So, Councilor Johnson.
Thank you. If it's all right with Councillor McHattie, I think that Councillor McHattie is in agreement with sending it back to clerks, and I believe we both have concerns as to why it's going there, and I'll put my concerns forward and I'll leave it up to Councillor McHattie to finish that motion if you don't mind.
Well, I'll go to Councillor McHattie to second it then, and then open it up for speakers.
So I'd like to refer this motion back to clerks for accurate wording to avoid any contradiction or conflict with the Rapid Ready document.
Okay, that's very
one. And the second thing was to determine whether or not a 2/3 vote is needed for this motion. I think that was also a little bit unclear.
Okay, Councillor McHattie, do you want to second that? Okay, and I'll go to you. And you want to speak to it, I believe, Councillor McHattie, to the referral.
Yeah, I have no comments. Thanks.
Yes, just instructions. You have no comment. Okay, I see no other speakers in this matter. We're going to send it back to clerks. All in favor? Carried. Referring it back to clerks. Carried. Opposed? That carries unanimously. Very good. I'll turn the chair back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Members of council, are there any other notices of motion? Hearing none. Oh.
Mayor, I do want to go on camera because I'd like to elaborate on the episode that I witnessed, and I'd like to ask Mr. Murray his thoughts on what had transpired.
Well, you'd like to make the motion?
I move that.
Have a seconder?
Collins.
All in favor?
Just a clarification. We aren't going in camera now. We'll go when we go over the other matter.
So all in favor of going? Is that carried? I'm sorry.
It's a personnel matter.
Why are we going in a closed session?
A personnel matter.
Councillor Clark.
I would suggest that maybe the council might want to come to the next meeting and have a more formalized motion to make sure that you've crossed your T's and dotted your I's. I'm not sure exactly.
You know what? That's actually preferable. I prefer that, actually. I'll move that we do
Just
that.
put it as a notice and you come back with a motion.
I'll do it as a notice, and then we can. Then that way we can actually compile all the data necessary for the discussion at that time.
Councillor, City Manager, did I threaten or bully you when I approached you at the...
You know what? I heard it. I heard what you said. I got it verbatim. That you're being awful nasty. Awful nasty.
You're out of order.
Well, you're constantly out of order. This is terrible what you're doing.
What did I say to him?
I got it right here.
Yeah, I said I can't believe you said that.
Well, why didn't you answer that question before if it's not such a big deal?
It's not relevant to our conversation. It was between me
Why
and the
didn't
city
you
manager.
offer the manager to respond?
Councilor, you're out of order. Members of councilors, do you have any items of interest? Councilor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate the fact that the good councilor across the way pointed out that I had been absent in the last couple of weeks, and I want to thank my constituents and my colleagues, Councilor Pearson and Johnson, and Powers specifically for helping me out. I came down with some strange gastrointestinal, they thought it was Norwalk virus, and I was rushed by a hospital to the ambulance, and I was in the hospital for a good 5 days. I don't usually miss meetings unless I'm not well. I'm always surprised when colleagues of mine, in the true sense of parliamentary process, would point to other colleagues' absence in a meeting without giving any context for their constituents. That being said, I forgive him for his comment. Dr. McMullen, who was my doctor inside, he did an awful lot to get me well. It was a little bit scary to be that ill. I've never been that ill before. I spent 4 days in our St. Joseph's emergency room because there were no beds, and I was in a quarantine, and then finally got a bed in the hospital. I am catching up on all the emails. I appreciate the prayers and thoughts of all of my constituents who found out about it. And I also want to thank the Spectator, because the Spectator were completely aware of the situation, yet they respected my family's privacy and did not publish any of the details. And so frequently people berate and admonish the media, but here was a situation where they were completely respectful of my family's privacy and expressed concerns on a number of occasions in terms of my health. So with that, I just want to thank my colleagues for their support during that time frame, and we didn't share it with anyone else, and candidly, I'm not interested in hearing anything else from the gentleman that made the comments earlier.
Okay. Councilor Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I certainly appreciate Councillor Clark's information, and certainly always respect the issues that I know he has to deal with, and we all know that around the table. I'm just glad that he's back and able to contribute here at the table with us. Just a couple things I do want to mention. First off, we had a Team Up to Clean Up event in Ward 10 this past week, and I do want to send my thanks out to Mark Galland, a young gentleman in the ward who has been getting involved in different events, and an event actually that he puts on in the city of Hamilton. He put on for the first time last year, but he coordinated, and he didn't have a whole lot. He actually was rather disappointed when I showed up that he didn't have a whole lot of uptake from Orchard Park School, which is unfortunate. But he did have a student and some homeowners come out, and I'll tell you, they put on a brave attempt at collecting and cleaning up Hunter Estates Park in a wooded area. And when I got there, there were well over 12, 15 bags of garbage. So they certainly a valiant attempt, and I can just reiterate to the neighborhood, there's garbage cans around. Please take your litter home with you. So that was one great event. We had a great day for that. Had the opportunity on Saturday to attend a couple of, well, actually here, and I know Councillor McCaddy will probably speak to it. First thing Saturday morning, there was the Hamilton Citizens Forum on heritage conservation, and I want to thank Councillor McCaddy for coordinating and putting that forward. Dale Wood, who did an extreme amount of work to coordinate and have speakers here, etc. I know Dale Brown, and Nicola from his office. And I know that we had several speakers, including Jess Beswick, Alyssa Denham from Heritage Committee, and a lot of great information came out. And I'm really pleased because the whole meeting was set to address this list that we have on Heritage Committee. It's a list of about 7,000 properties that are on a list. They're not on a registry. They're not designated. They're on a list. And there was a lot of discussion of how we can go about doing this. And I know Councillor McCaddy and I have spoken on how to deal with this list, that we need to get community involvement. And I think, and I will say, there were over 100 people. I counted while Councillor McCaddy was in the chair. There were over 100 people here on Saturday. So that's great. I'm hoping that the momentum continues and that we'll have a lot of uptake from citizens to clean this list up, to get the proper properties on a registry and move forward with designations. I think that's super. So I'm really pleased of that. Then from there, I was able to pop down to Stony Creek. We had the unveiling of the bicentennial quilt.
at the United Church on Lake Avenue, and the bicentennial barn quilt. First time I've seen a barn quilt, Mr. Mayor, and it's painted on wood. And I'm very proud of the art group that came together, and I was able to assist them in finding a spot to do this past winter, because they need a big area to do it. So that was exciting. And I just want to mention, going back to the Heritage event on Saturday morning, there were some comments and concerns with regards to Aukmar House, and I didn't have the information that day to contribute, but I just am pleased to mention for the viewing public out there that there are projects going on with regards to Aukmar House. It is being taken care of. It is being worked on. And right now, restoration works include finials, new shingles, gutters and downspouts, and a new color scheme for the high trim. There's investigations that will begin with the conservation of the existing heritage windows and restoration of the missing casement sashes on the second floor. And planning will also begin for the masonry restoration of the main house. So good news there in Aukmar. Please, for the viewing public and people who were here, yes, she is being taken care of. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson?
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, we had 3 cleanups in Ward 11, Binbrook, Mount Hope, and Winona. And just to let you know, it's not a lot of fun picking up trash in a hailstorm. And that's exactly what happened. And those volunteers braved it out with us. It was amazing, and we had lots and lots of help. And as you know, Mr. Mayor, on Sunday, the Early Museum reopened. Thank you so much for coming out to that. There was over 200 people, at least 200, if not more. Many thanks goes out to the volunteers. They did a terrific job. They had the museum was just shining, and there's a lot of interest now back into that museum, so it's a really good news story. And congratulations to the Women's Institute, and my colleague Maria Pearson also came out. National Puddle Day is this Saturday. It's at the Mount Hope Community Center, and it starts at 11 o'clock. Bring your rubber boots, and we're selling T-shirts and buttons. If you'll remember, this was because of a young man who was in a car accident on Highway 6, and he was a little tot that went to the Kinderseeds preschool. So what they did was, he always wanted to be a firefighter, and he was always in his rubber boots. So now they have National Puddle Day in his honor, and all the proceeds go to the bereavement family of Ontario. And just to let you know, this is just not in Mount Hope. This is in England, in China, in Europe, in South America. It is just, in the last 2 years, has just gone rapid. So it's been absolutely wonderful. Thanks to the firefighters and the police, the EMS, and the schools that all participate. It's just absolutely humbling. We have this Monday night, the Mount Hope Community Meeting is at 7 o'clock at the Mount Hope Community Center. I'm having one there for everyone, and it's really just to take a look at how we can make our little downtown in Mount Hope a little better for everyone. So please come out. We need your input. And on May the 5th, we have our annual Binbrook Crappie Derby. And I'm only doing this because this is for Laura Babcock. She tweeted me and said, "What's crappie?" So that is a fish. It's at the Binbrook Conservation Authority, and it's on May the 6th from 6 a.m. to 1:30. And lastly, we have the Binbrook Agricultural Society is having their craft home and car show on May 4th and 5th. Come on out to that. That will be at the fairgrounds. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and always lots happening in Ward 11. If you have any concerns or any questions about when all these things start, just go to my website, www.brendajohnson.ca.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ferguson.
I'm fine for tonight, thank you.
Councillor Pasuda.
Thank you, Mayor Bertina. And just a few things. First of all, today is Administrative Assistance Day. It's a day we recognize our administrative assistants for their hard work and keeping us out of trouble and doing all our research and dealing with our constituents. And for everybody out there, it doesn't matter what business or career you're in, you have administrative assistant working for you. The whole week actually is, but today is the day of recognition. So I hope if we haven't recognized them today, we do during the rest of the week. Look at recognizing the people. Back on April 12th, and the weekend of that, there was a storm up through Flamborough and a lot of Hamilton, and there was the rain and the wind and the ice, and a lot of damage done out through the Flamborough area. Power was out for 3 days. We had power out for 3 days in our area. Basements flooded, trees fell down on buildings and on cars out there. A lot of damage, and we're still dealing with that, and particularly even our place, we had a lot of damage done, so working through that. And And it's start of the crop year, and it's a little late this year, being it's cold and it's wet, and things are starting to come along. I hope we don't get a cold snap. Blossoms will be coming soon. Remember last year we had a devastating effect on all of our fruit trees, apple trees. It was a disaster for the farmers out there, but we're working at it. And the last rain, actually the rain that causes all the trouble, has actually hardened the ground up, and it's going to get so we can get out there. The frost is gone, we'll get our crops in, and hopefully we have a successful year and we provide crop and food for all the people, Hamilton and way beyond. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Whitehead.
Mr. Mayor, the first thing I need to do is, there was a tweet, it reminds me of, was it War of the Worlds, what happened, the radio broadcast. And then I was just watching the news today, and they talked about what happened in Boston, and 2 suspects originally misnamed tweeted around the world, and obviously the impact it had on those 2 individuals. Well, just recently, Mr. Mayor, what's it called, Hammer in the News did a story on, and I take a joke like anyone else, I don't have a problem with it, until it starts costing taxpayers money. And the site tweeted and quoted me as saying that I was pursuing a fine for cutting lawns diagonally. Now, it's a satirical site, but it's inundated my office staff, take away from important issues, and addressing that it's not a true story, it was a satirical story, but they don't provide any disclaimers on the site or on the tweets. And so for the last number of days, my staff has been fielding calls, believe it or not, on me pursuing a bylaw on diagonal cutting. By the way, I cut my lawn diagonally. So, like I said, the site is good in the context of the satirical information. It is laughable. I think it's a great site, and I certainly promote people to go to it. But I think they need to put a disclaimer on it to ensure that people aren't confused with the information that does go out, because nowhere does it say on the tweets or otherwise that is a satirical site, and people actually, unfortunately, get bent out of shape, and anxiety sets in and starts calling when they believe it to be true. So I want to make it clear that the site, I did make contact with the individual, and I didn't ask him to remove the story because I find it kind of funny myself. But just all I'm asking them to do is to ensure that they put disclaimers so people understand it's not real news, it's a satirical piece to create some laughter and lightheartedness on current events. So I want to make clear to my constituents that no, there's no bylaw that I'm pursuing for diagonal cutting. The other thing I want to talk about, Mr. Mayor, is that I advised my constituents that I'll be hosting a town hall meeting tomorrow evening, April 25th, 2013, at Mount View School, 59 Karen Crescent, from 7 to 9 p.m. On Thursday, May 2nd, 2013, I will be hosting a town hall meeting at Gordon Price School at 11 Gilwood Drive from 7 to 9 p.m. We do hope that you will come out and join us in bringing City Hall to the people. This Saturday, April 27th, we will be hosting the Ward 8 Team Up to Clean Up event at Gurnett neighborhood. The boundaries of this neighborhood are Gar Street to Upper Paradise, Mohawk Road to Link. We're meeting at 10 a.m. at 48 Caroga Court. We will be handing out supplies and treats provided by Tim Hortons. After the cleanup, we will meet back at 48 Caroga Court for a free barbecue sponsored by Fortino's Upper James, and a big thank you to Jason Zielinski, owner and operator. Would like to remind our youth that my office will provide volunteer hours documents as requested. Would also like to take this opportunity to thank my constituents and those traveling through Ward 8 for their patience and consideration for all the construction that's taking place. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Duval.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just want to remind this council and our viewers out there that Sunday is the National Day of Mourning, and the Hamilton District Labor Council will be having a ceremony here in this chambers at 6:30. It usually starts at 10:30, Mr. Mayor. That's the past tradition, so it is 6:30 on Sunday night. Hoping to see everybody there. Mr. Mayor, I also want to recognize a resident in the city of Hamilton by the name of Brian Hall, who owns a company of Brychem. And I want to thank him for restoring our monument that we have here at City Hall when it was vandalized with graffiti. And he volunteered his company and his time at his cost to clean up that monument and have it prepared for us for Sunday. So I know, Mr. Mayor, you're always there, and I think we're going to recognize him on Sunday night. We sign your certificate together, and hope everybody will.
Thanks, Scott. That's one of the, Councillor, it's one of the most important monuments that we have in our city. Councillor Jackson.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. 5 public service announcements quickly, 3 in my ward. This afternoon, up where your mother recently had her birthday, up at Macassa Lodge, Councillor Morelli and I were there for the volunteer appreciation. Over 200 volunteers, great strong association, do a lot of help and care for the 270 frail elderly residents of Macassa Lodge, and we're really blessed at Macassa Lodge to have over 200 volunteers. Thanks to the chairperson, Ray Strawn, and treasurer today, Marg Shane, who Councillor Morelli and I, on behalf of yourself and City Council, gave a couple of gifts to for the volunteers to enjoy. They do fundraising as well, raise money for the tuck shop and other great things. And of course, we got great staff there led by our senior administrator, Vicki Woodcock. So that was great today. It was a nice open house and luncheon for the volunteers. Secondly, this Friday night at Huntington Park Rec Center, my Trenholm Bocce Association has their annual general meeting, Mr. Mayor. The biannual elections of officers at 7 p.m. at Huntington Park Rec Center this Friday night. To the 100-plus members of the Bocce Association of Trenholm, come on out, support your current purely volunteer-driven executive. They've had another successful, great year. Marty Valeri, president, and his executive, Osvaldo Tavani, Morris Marcella, and Manuela Viccioni. Thirdly, Mr. Mayor, I attended about a week ago, about a month and a half ago, I had said to council that we're really blessed on the mountain. We got 204-year-olds that are having birthdays within a couple of months of each other. 2 months ago was Bella Brearley, I mentioned at council, and in the past week was Otis Delory, and he lived right up until a few months ago at 801 Upper Gage, and now is with his daughter on East 36, and I attended the 104th birthday party for Otis Delory. Still spry, still has his capacities about him, and still lets me know, like Bella did, Mr. Mayor, when they're not pleased with me and my decision-making at City Hall. But it was just great for Otis Delory, so we're really blessed in our community to have that kind of history and that kind of longevity in our community. Congratulations to Otis and happy birthday. 2 citywide functions quickly, Mr. Mayor. On Saturday, May 4th, I know I've joined you in the past, Mr. Mayor, out here at the forecourt of City Hall. At noon hour, the Hamilton Youth Advisory Committee will be launching its Youth Week. And I know, Mr. Mayor, in the past, you've been a great supporter. Councillor Marula deserves so much credit because he was the one 6 years ago, first time ever suggested, and we formalized it and constituted it, Youth Advisory Committee advising City Council on matters and programs that impact youth across our community. We got 20-plus wonderful youth volunteer from high school, university, and colleges that make up the Youth Advisory Committee. So come out Saturday, May 4th, noon hour at the forecourt of City Hall to launch Youth Week with the Mayor and myself. Thanks to staff Renee Reed and Mark Weingartner. And lastly, Mr. Mayor, I know yourself, Councillor Morelli, and I often and regularly attend the Polish Constitution celebration. And this year it's Sunday, May 5th at the Polish Alliance Hall on Barton Street East near Upper Ottawa. Congratulations again. This will be the 222nd year anniversary of the Constitution of the nation of Poland and of the Polish people. First ever democratic constitution of a people in the history of mankind. Mr. Mayor, Sunday, May 5th, congratulations to the Polish-Canadian Congress, Stan Warda, and his entire executive. Hope to see everyone there. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Collins.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I first want to start by thanking the army of volunteers that I had out on Saturday. I had 2 community cleanup events as I advertised at our last council meeting. The first one in the morning was we had about 30 plus volunteers attending the Quigley and Greenhill event. And while we woke up to snow flurries that day, we still had a number of interested residents who were anxious to clean up some of the natural areas, the creeks, the ravines, the escarpment area. And so I had 30 volunteers led by Wanda Eads, Marie Raftis, Judy Klusterman, David Deslandes. They did a tremendous job. They weathered the cold, and they cleaned up a big portion of the area around Quigley Greenhill. The afternoon, I had 15 people show up at the Rosedale event, again under cold temperatures, and I want to thank all those residents who came out to clean up the area around Rosedale Arena and the Kings Forest Golf Course. This weekend I have another community cleanup, Saturday, April 27th from 9 till 12. It's at the Beach Rescue Unit. I believe the address is 316 Beach Boulevard, if memory serves me right. And of course, we'll be providing the bags and gloves and everything else required to clean up the garbage on the beach strip. And special thanks to Ron Speranzini, who annually helps out with that event. And the week following, May the 4th, 9 to 12 at Warden Park on Lake Avenue. Again, Judy Kloosterman, who's my community development worker and also a Riverdale resident, has assisted in the past with the Riverdale area cleanup. And again, the city will be providing the bags and gloves and all of the gear that's required to clean up the creek in that area. Lastly, I want to just commend Derek Doyle, who a real estate agent here locally. Councillor Farr, Morelli, and I had the opportunity to meet with one of the Hive groups, the YEP group, as they're called, the Young Entrepreneurs and Professionals. It's an under 40 group of people, young people in this community who are doing good things. And Derek was on their second anniversary just a couple of nights ago at the Annex on James Street North. Derek was elected their new chairman, I guess, for this year. And he had a great speech that evening, very passionate about Hamilton, very excited about all the good things that are occurring. And so I wanted to take this opportunity to thank him for his election and his contribution, and past chair Joe Accardi, who's done a great job over the last number of years with the YEP group. And so they're doing good things in this community. I was joined by Councillor Morelli and Farr, and we wish Derek Doyle and his group the best of luck.
Thank you. Councillor Marula.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me start off by first thanking Vic Colville and the residents in and around the Montgomery Park area for their cleanup last weekend. They've done a fabulous job, and they've consistently, on an annual basis, if not biannual, ensured that they were involved and engaged in that cleanup. I also want to highlight the fact that the center at Barton is flourishing, as everyone can see. I know some people are concerned about the pedestrian aspects of the mall, but I need to remind everyone that that mall or that site was scheduled for low-income housing back in 2003 when it was up for sale. We were able to facilitate, and I can honestly say with a great deal of help from Sheila Copps, the former member of Parliament, when the news came forward that there was a potential of it being developed into low-income housing, there was a great deal of angst. At that time, Ottawa Street was on a downturn. We had significant vacancies. Since then, we've seen not only a rejuvenation of Ottawa Street, but we've also seen a rebirth and a renaissance throughout the East End, and particularly the centre of Barton. It is the largest inner-city redevelopment in all of Canada. It's up to about $140 million. And just recently, back in the day, I can recall when everyone used to say, up in the hill, they're getting this, and up in the hill, they're getting that, and why does the hill get everything? Well, you know what? The East End is getting a share. We've got the first Target in the city of Hamilton at the Centre Mall. We've got Marshall's that opened up at the beginning of April. The Brick is scheduled to open up. We have a food court that is vibrant. The entire mall. We have Metro, which is the only new development of Metro in the entire region. And to say that it is an exciting project is really an understatement. And I understand that there are issues surrounding the design. I wished a lot of it was facing Barton, but the reality is, in the excitement of having the largest inner-city redevelopment in our area, I think some things became an oversight, and that was one of them. Having said that, we should look at that and the growth and the assessment growth and the property value increase by 300% in the area, and look at the fact that the East End is at a place where it hasn't been in decades, and for that, we need to not only commend those that invested in the area, but the residents who stood strong in the area, particularly East Hamilton Radio, who have nominated as an East End business that should be rewarded, and Columbian Chemicals has come a long way in mitigating a lot of their environmental issues over the last few years. So, in saying that, I look forward to the Brick opening up. I know that the Target is packed, and they have 3,000 or 4,000 vehicles there at any given weekend, and it's good to see. On another front, we have a cleanup this Saturday at the Parquet at Edinburgh and Ottawa, which is the Ottawa Street Parquet. We also have one at Robin and Roxborough Park. The So Hungry event is occurring on May 3rd from 11 to 3 and 4 to 8. Also, a Textile Center, 50th anniversary on Ottawa Street North. That's 300 Ottawa Street North. Also, Jane's Walk on May 4th. I'm really excited. It's referred to as a walk, but I'm actually making it a cycling event. We're all meeting at Lowe's, which is, again, the first Lowe's in Canada and actually the most successful Lowe's in Canada at the corner of Barton and Woodward. We're meeting there, and we're traveling on a new bike path on Woodward. We're going to go by the new the new park that's been developed at Brampton and Woodward, as well as the Museum of Steam Technology. We're going to go through the Red Hill Valley Trail onto the pedestrian bridge, which I initiated back in 2004, which I'm very proud of, and the province paid for. And we're going to state the excitement of that actually being a gateway project, as well as a safe access from the trail from Ward 4 to Ward 5. And we're going to land in Councillor Collins' area at Hutch's, and hopefully he can join us for some French fries. But he's on a low carb diet, so he won't be able to join us for French fries, but a hot dog perhaps without the bun. And in saying that, that's about all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Morelli.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. South Sherman community cleanup occurred this past weekend, and I want to just take this opportunity to thank Steve Caverly, Amanda, and Josh Stringer for participating at a leadership level and certainly making some major improvements in the neighborhood. This week we have 3 cleanups scheduled. Holy Name of Jesus cleanup at Bellevue Park will occur actually tomorrow between 10:30 and 3 o'clock at the school and at the park. The Keith neighborhood cleanup in North Central Park will occur on Saturday, April 27th between 8 in the morning and 12 noon. And again, I want to salute Jerry Palmetier, his leadership, and the crew down there who will be involved. The Wellington Park West Avenue Robert Street Alley cleanup will occur on Saturday, May the 4th. Between 2 and 4, and people will be meeting on site. And many thanks to Rachel Braithwaite for leading this crew as they go through the neighborhood and make improvements. I'm really pleased today to announce the launch of the Barton Street Virtual Initiative. It's a program which I've been working with Glenn Norton, and I want to also say that Councillor Marula, Jason Farr, myself, as well as Councillor Collins, who have had particular interest in Barton Street. This is a program which is being funded by the city and has undertaken to expand and leverage those funds probably to twice the amount, where we're working with Dr. David Harris-Smith and from McMaster, and we're looking to participatory virtual initiatives taking place with redeveloping the Barton Street corridor. Again, I want to thank Glenn Norton for his assistance, as well as Dave Premi and Paul Shaker, who are involved as well. Tonight, actually, the Hamilton Police Service volunteer banquet is occurring, and it's at the Marquee Garden, and it's an opportunity for me to salute the terrific work that so many of our volunteers do at the Hamilton Police Service, and I want to wish them my most deep gratitude for their work, and certainly pride that they exhibit in what they carry out to assist policing in this community. The South Sherman Community Building Video, which is part of the neighborhood development group under Paul Johnson, occurs at the St. Giles Church, and they've developed this video over the last year, and so they're going to screen it for the first time on April the 24th at 7 o'clock at St. Giles. And again, I want to thank Rebecca Dole, David Derbyshire, and the whole crew there that have worked so hard with community to put just one activity amongst so many together in the interest of improving the community. As well, there will be a municipal bylaw meeting with residents of the Keith neighborhood, which will occur on April 25th at 6:30, and that will occur at the Eva Rothwell Center on Wentworth Street North. The annual conference, a very important new phenomena in the sense that it's at least being addressed very solidly now, and it reminds me a lot of what we went through when we took on the challenge of hate crime. But the Human Trafficking Conference will occur once again at the School Sisters of Notre Dame, which is on Snake Road, 1921 Snake Road, and that will occur between 9 and 1 o'clock on Saturday, April the 27th. And it brings a focus to this very real problem right in our own backyard. And I really want to take this opportunity to salute the sisters, the organizers, for holding this session and putting a face on a very serious growing problem, and one now that's being addressed solidly with a number of agents, including policing, social agencies that are involved. The Weaver Hub will occur on Monday, April the 29th, at between 5 and 6:30 at 160 Wentworth Street North at Kathy Weaver School. Many thanks again to Alex Morose and his group for the good work that they do in providing and involving the families in that neighborhood, and certainly are continuing to work towards the development of a new park down there, or an addition on those grounds. The Barton Village BIA monthly meeting will occur Tuesday, April the 30th, between 6 and 7 o'clock, and certainly they too are becoming very heavily involved in the new things that we're doing on Barton Street. Finally, as we move forward, Police Week is upon us, and on Monday, May the 6th, between 6 and 7 and into the evening at the Theatre Aquarius on 190 King William, the police service will be holding its annual awards night. Congratulations to those who achieved the various awards that police assign each and every year. My final one, Mr. Chairman, is that for those that noticed the fire that took place at 403, 405, and 409 King Street at Victoria, through the great work of Glenn Wyde and his staff, hopefully by the 1st of May, we will have that site cleaned up and made more appropriately visible, as it has been lingering on and certainly caused some concern. We're also doing the same with 405 Cannon, and also Scott Park baseball registrations will be this Saturday again between 10 and 2 at Scott Park Arena on Cannon Street. That's for T-ball, softball, and the adult leagues. Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. And I just wanted to thank Councillor Pearson for mentioning the Cultural Heritage Forum on Saturday. We were really excited about the turnout, and probably the most exciting part was the representation from right across the city. It wasn't just downtown folks, it wasn't just folks from the mountain or somewhere, it was folks from all the heritage societies, from all the former area municipalities, from Glanbrook, from Dundas, from Ancaster, from Stony Creek, from all the area municipalities. Hamilton Mountain was there as well with their society, and the Architectural Conservancy of Ontario, the Hamilton chapter, which covers sort of the old part of Hamilton, was also there, along with the head of the Lake Historical Society, and many other folks, folks from neighborhood associations throughout the city as well. Durand, of course, was strong as always with their leadership in the downtown area. So we've got a very clear pathway ahead, I think, Mr. Mayor, to tackle this list of 7,000, which we've been talking about for 10 years now, since 2001, since amalgamation. And I think we've got a methodology in place now, and the people that are going to be doing the work are the heritage societies, are the neighborhood associations for their particular areas, working with their councillors, I would suggest, to go through the properties that are in their particular areas and determine whether they're still there to begin with, and then to document a little bit of detail on them, take photographs, and so we can place them on the register so they've got the 60 days of protection from a demolition permit should that occur. That's really all it is. It's a straightforward tool, the heritage tool for placing properties on the register. We learned about Oakville's approach in particular. That's of all the municipalities, that sounds like the approach we want to emulate. So I've got a report here from Oakville on how they're going about doing that. So we'll carry forward and work with all the folks right across the city at the grassroots level too. That's exciting, I think. Second of all, I just wanted to follow on some other comments about the cleanups that have occurred throughout Ward 1. They're almost too numerous to mention. Fabulous work around Earth Day every year, and I wanted to mention one in particular, I guess, in the problem of pointing one out, but Chris Dunn in Highland Gardens Park and the Res in particular, that he's been doing that for as long as anyone can remember. So I just wanted to recognize Chris Dunn in particular for his great work in the cleanups in the Kirkendall area around the Res, the old reservoir. And lastly, Councillor Farr left, and you may be wondering why he left so quickly. I think he mentioned it briefly, his son's birthday is today, and that's a pretty important thing for a child to have a birthday. So I wanted to finish off, Mr. Mayor, by saying happy birthday to Jake Farr. Thanks.
Happy birthday. Councilor Morella, you had one more.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I just want to mention, too, that on May the 4th, that Saturday, I'll be doing a Jane's Walk as well at Gage Park, and I want to take this opportunity to thank Mary Bonus for pulling things together where Sam can ride and I can walk, and that will occur between 10 and 11:30 on Saturday at Gage Park.
Thank you. Members of council, I represented you with a very state visit. The President of Macedonia, Dr. George Ivanov, came to Hamilton. We have a large Macedonian population, a couple of churches, one fairly new one up on the East Mount. And I didn't want to change the nature of the event. It was very dignified, but he did tell a joke. So since the President of Macedonia told a joke, I offered one back to him. And I said, do you know, sir, that McDonald's is doing a joint venture with Tim Hortons in Skopje? They're going to open a store called McDonald's. And he laughed, unlike you people. So, and also, the message that he brought to a special banquet that evening was multi-ethnicity, multicultural. Apparently, their culture. He's very proud of the multi-ethnic nature of Macedonia. And I said, well, how do you like this? This suit was made in Stony Creek by an Armenian from Turkey. And he was pretty impressed with that because you know the Stony Creek Taylor people. Council, just before we break to go in camera, I regret that decorum fell apart a little bit. I've been very proud, and I think we all have been markedly noticeable in this term of office in behaving well around the table. My sister was here tonight. She came from Halifax. She's actually just moved here, bought a house so she could help look after Mom. And my wife. And the reason they were there was they felt that I might need support because there was going to be some kind of outburst tonight. And so I thanked them for that. And I will also, and there they are. Hello, El. Hello, Carol. And a lot of nasty things have been said in print and in front of cameras. Council, I defy you to find anything that I ever said directly personal about any one of you, any media interview. We may say things behind closed doors here, but in terms of public statements, I really regret that. And I remember very well Ken Peters coming to me once and asking me to say some dirty stuff about, unkind stuff about Councilor Marula. And I said to Ken, Ken, let the public, you remember the article they wrote about Councilor Marula sometimes. It's an interesting talk to his friends and so on, but I said, Ken, let the public judge for themselves about, don't expect me to say something to build a story on. But I was most disheartened because one expects from certain people certain ways of speaking and behavior. But the comment that the mayor of Hamilton, who was voted, I won the election fair and square, my biggest area of support was Ward 4, the ward that I grew up in, Regina Avenue North. And I had the highest support, and I had support in almost every ward of the city. So when I appear on your behalf at what is literally a state funeral, such as I did today, what would citizens expect if the person who's representing them in the honor of the moment is being spoken of as willfully stupid? So I hope that as we go forward and finish this term, we will return to the decorum that we started with, because we have done a very good job. I'm very disappointed at what happened tonight, and I'll leave it at that. Members of council, item 10.1, the closed session minutes from the April 10th, 2013 council meeting. If there are no questions with respect to these minutes, may I have a motion to approve the minutes? Whitehead, Ferguson, all in favor? Carried. Members of council, item 10.2 is a report 13002, the selection committee recommendation of a citizen appointment to the Hamilton Public Library Board. Councillor Johnson, may I have a motion to waive the rules in order to allow consideration of selection committee report 13-002.
Thank you. As chairperson of the selection committee and seconded by my vice chair, Councillor Terry Whitehead, that section 5.62 of the city's procedural bylaw, which provides that a minimum of 48 hours shall pass before the standing committee report is presented to council, be waived in order to consider selection committee report 13-002 dated Tuesday, April 23rd, 2013.
All in favor? If you have any questions with regard to the appointment, it would require a motion to move in closed session, so we're good with that?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So no discussion. May I have a motion to approve Selection Committee Report 13-02 respecting the appointment of Claire Wagner to the Hamilton Public Library Board.
Councillor Johnson and seconded by Councillor Whitehead.
All in favor?
Thank you.
With respect to GIC Report 13-009, information item J2, a motion please to move into closed session pursuant to subsection E and F of the city's procedural bylaw and section 239.2 of the Municipal Act, as the subject matter pertains to litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. The receiving of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Respecting proposed settlement of OMB appeals of development charges bylaws 09-143/11-174/11-173/11-174/11-175. Hamilton Home Builders Association and Lozani Homes 1988 Limited, OMB file number DC 090025 and DC 11008. A motion, please, to move into closed session. Pursuit. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Those who are not required to be here, please leave. I want you to take the chair, okay?